That's nerve-wracking. I'm a little late, like a minute, and not remotely ready because it's been a while, and I fully and completely forgot that I need my laptop for this. It gives me some time to settle on playlist. I fully expect nobody to show up to this, by the way. Like completely. We're gonna make the best of it though. I know it's been ages. Let's do, do I have a 21 Pilots master list? We can start there. So let's do that. I don't think I've ever done just straight up 21 Pilots. We'll see how long it takes before I get annoyed. It's all right. I was late. I was late as well, to be honest. I was cold and I ran to go get a jacket and I came back and I was like, oh, all just gotta sit down and turn my camera on, and then I looked at my desk and I was like, something's missing here, and it was my whole laptop. I know it's been ages. I it has been ages. You haven't missed me. I straight up just haven't well, I've been posting TikToks. I haven't streamed in ages. Um what did I do? Let's just do this. It's the first one I saw. My life kind of got blown up in January by like an unfortunate series of events, which of course I'm going to tell you because why would I just actually do my job and talk about tarot? So, as some of you may know, I do not have a driver's license. But I'm an excellent driver and I taught myself how to drive, and I have a beat up Toyota Camry. I used to have a really beat up like 2003 Toyota Camry that I used to drive like to and from Kentucky. I live in Maryland, so it's like a 10-hour drive to see my now ex. And there was like this is important lore, we have to go all the way back. There was a very like famous argument me and my mom had about me taking that initial drive the first time to Kentucky, because she was like, your car is gonna explode, and I was like, no it's not. You know, that car had like every dash on the light like on, but I knew my car and I drove it really really gently, and I was like, I promise you it's gonna make it. Right, so eventually that car died, like I want to say maybe 2 years after I had it. It was like a 2003. It was on death's door. And it didn't like, nothing in particular happened. It had an issue where in the winter, if I let it sit for too long, like if I didn't drive my car for like a week or two in the winter, which never happened. I think the only reason that ever happened was because we got snowed in and I couldn't go anywhere. It would just like, it would, the battery would like get too cold, and then I would have to jump start it for the next couple of drives until like it got its shit together, and then it wouldn't jump at one point after like 3 years of doing that, right? So then we got a new Toyota Camry, which I think was like a 2007, my white one. Right. So the context you need to have here is that I used to drive a car that was like on death's door, and I drove it for like 3 years competently without any major issues, right? Important lore, right? So I get the new Toyota Camry. It was great when I got it. And then about a month or two after I got it, a couple lights on the dash came on, and it used to do this thing where like every fourth or fifth time I started it up, the whole exhaust would just like cloud with smoke. Like I could look out my passenger window and it looked like somebody just set a bonfire in the back of my car, right? Pointed it out a couple of times. Nobody seemed to give a shit in my household. Everybody was like, okay, yeah, whatever, right? I tried to get them to care about it. I was like, I think we need to take it to the shop. Nobody cared. This was my experience with my first car, which is why I drove it like that, right? Toyota Camry, if you have one, you know that they're like darn near unkillable. Like I promise you, every single light was on. It clinked, the brakes barely worked, and I drove that thing like it was like butter, right? So I proceeded and I kept going on driving, right? After about another 5 or 6 months of this just being standard, and I stopped caring because it happened almost every time it happened in my car. Almost every time I turned it on, and nothing ever came of it. The car never blew up and never drove any different, like whatever, right? My mom comes outside and she sees the plume of smoke that I've been trying to get her to give a shit about for years, right? On this specific day, I was on my way to get something. I don't remember what it was. I had like $20 to my name and I was going to go get something, right? I get in my car to leave and my mom like flies out the house and she's like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh yeah, that. And she was like, no, you need to do something about that. And I was like, oh, No, I don't. You'd said this like 6 months ago. I would have been with you, but I don't care and I don't have the money to fix it. So it's whatever. She wouldn't let it go, and it ended up being a whole argument where she was like, I forbid you from driving that car again until you like put some oil in it. And I was like, okay, cool. Mind you, it didn't have any oil in it. But it never had any oil in it, and it was fine, and so was my last car. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I understand logically the thought process, but also I know my car, and I know the ones that I've driven, I know this make and model. It's pretty much unkillable. So I was like, I'm just going around the corner. I'm gonna go finish my errand. When I come back, I will, like, you know, do some tarot readings. I'll do some work, and then I'll have the money tomorrow to go get some oil. And she was like, no, it's gonna explode on you, right? We were, like, screaming at each other, right? Because I was like, I'm just going around the corner, and she was like, no, fuck you, you know? So I was like, cool, whatever. I don't have any money for any oil. And she was like, and she wouldn't give me any, which is fine. So I was like, I'll go around the corner, I'll get a little $5 quarter oil while I'm running my other errand. And she was like, you need to get a gallon. And I was like, I don't have a gallon money. I don't know what you want me to do. I'll put like $5 worth of oil in it, right? So we do that, right? I come back with the oil. I'm like, can you help me put it in? She's like, you know how to do it. And I was like, actually, no, I'm not. I'm a drive car person. I'm not a work on car person, right? So I don't know. Anytime I lift the hood of my car and do anything, I used to change the lights on my car a lot because my light case was shattered and like patched up with tape, so the light would just get wet every couple of weeks and like die. So I can replace my light bulb. Anything more complicated than that, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not good at it. And I was like, I just don't feel comfortable like being under the hood. Can you like show me what I'm supposed to do? And she's like, it's easy. And I was like, every single time you tell me something's easy, it's never easy. It's always like, oh, it's just common sense. Then I go to do something. You're like, never do that. That's so stupid, right? She wouldn't help, right? So I watched the YouTube video. I put oil in my car. We continued, right? As a couple days went by and I started to go outside and look at my car and feel like something was off, right? It just looked a little bit weird. Couldn't figure out what it was. Couldn't figure out what was going on with it. Eventually, I realized that I thought that the hood was like maybe this much higher than it should be. Like I could see a little bit of a gap. And I have OCD. So I was like, I don't know if that's always been there or if I'm being paranoid, right? So I would literally take running starts at my car and slam my body weight on the hood to like push it back down. And I did that like 8 or 9 times. It didn't move. And I got into the habit of just doing it as like a good luck thing where I would just jump on the hood. And I was like, I don't think my hood is raised. I think I'm just being crazy and having OCD. But it makes me feel better because then if I like throw my body weight on it and I can see that it's not moving, then I know the hood is fine, right? My current partner lives in Richmond, so it's like a 2-hour drive for me. I was driving to his home from his place, actually. Very windy day. I'm watching the hood of my car, and I could see this, like, rumble. And I was like, I feel like my hood's about to fly up. Don't know why. I just feel like it is. It was a really windy day. And again, I thought I was being paranoid. So I was like, you know what, just to make myself feel better, I'm going to get an emergency plan. I refamiliarized myself with where my hazard buttons were. I was all the way over in like the lane next to the fast lane, like out of 4 or 5 lanes, I was like in the second one. And I was like, if it does happen, this is what I'll do, right? I have that thought. I continue down the road for 4 more minutes and my hood catapults up and slams and shatters my glass window in my car. Not shatters as in like break, shatters in like cracked. And it's like embedded into the glass, right? So I put my hazards on and I get over traffic. I can't see anything because my hood is up. So I'm using my back mirrors and the rear view mirror to kind of figure out how to get over, right? Get out of the car. Call my mom immediately because it's her. She pays the insurance, right? So I was like, I explained what happened and I was like, what do I do? And she was like, well, I'm busy. And I was like, okay, I don't really, I don't care if you're busy. I'm by the side of the road. My car cannot drive. Do you want me to call a tow truck? Because I don't have the insurance information. Or are you going to do something? Because if you don't do anything or you don't, like, can your boyfriend come pick, like, if somebody doesn't pick me up, I'm on a highway. And I'm going to sleep inside the car in this highway. I don't have another option. Like, this car can't drive. I can't see anything, right? And she's like, get out of the car and try and put the hood down. And I'm like, already did that. It's not coming down. And she was like, well, you have to. And I was like, I can't. It's embedded inside of the hood. And she's like, well, I don't know what you're going to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm sleep in the car, I guess. We're out of options, right? You won't give me the name to our tow company. You won't give me the insurance information. You won't leave where you are to come get me. You won't send somebody else that has a car in our family to, like, okay, sure, right? And it's one of those really busy highways where there's tons of trucks. I promise this is an explanation of where I've been. It gets worse. So there's tons of big semi trucks coming. I already have like really bad anxiety. So I'm like off on the side and I'm like, I feel like another car is gonna come through and like hit rear end my car or something. You know what I mean? I like this doesn't feel safe. So I'm sitting in the car like crying. And I get out a couple more times to try and put the hood down. I don't feel good about it. I'm looking at it. I'm like, this hood is like embedded. It's not coming back down, right? But because my mom was like, you have to get the hood down or else I can't help you. I like tried, right? I go to put the hood down. I get back in my car. I call my boyfriend at this point. He's at work, but I was like, I'm not getting any help for anybody else, right? And then as I'm on the phone with him, a semi comes by on the far lane. So it's like it's like in the lane next to me, zooms by at like 70 miles per hour, and the backwind from the semi slams my hood down to the point where had I had my head underneath the car, I would have been decapitated. It scared the living shit out of me. It sounded like somebody shot a shotgun next to my ear. Shook the whole car. And I was like, well, the hood's down. I'm hang up with my boyfriend, call my mom, was like, got the hood down. Doing some, I wasn't in the middle of it. I told you that it was not right for me to be outside because she was like, how'd you get it down? And I was like, oh, a car almost catapulted my car into the fifth dimension and the wind from it knocked the hood down. That's kind of why I didn't want to be outside of the car trying, because I had a feeling that exact scenario was going to happen, right? Or at the very least, like the wind from another car. It was just a lot of semis. I didn't like the vibes, right? I had a feeling. And she was like, well, you have to tie the hood down. And I was like, I don't have anything to tie with. And then I got the same answer. She was like, well, I don't know how to help you. And I was like, she's like, there's nothing in there. And I was like, no. And she was like, you sure? And I'm looking at, I keep my car really clean. There's nothing in the car but my purse that I brought with me and my bag that I just like had in my boyfriend's house. And I was like, unless you want me to tie my clothes together like Rapunzel and makeshift like a thing to tie the hood down. No, I don't. Anyways, we figured it out. My boyfriend was nearby working, and he works in a work truck. So he drove to Home Depot and bought some like wire ties, and then he drove back to me the bungee cords, and we bungeed the car down, and I was able to get it home. To make a long story short, we were gonna get the car fixed. It was gonna get paid for, but then after we took it to the shop and all the insurance stuff cleared, the mechanics were like, it is actually going to cost more to fix this car than the car is worth. So then the insurance company was like, well, we're not gonna fix it then, and they gave us like the lump sum that the car was worth. And we're gonna move about our day. Mind you, when it first happened, I was freaking out because I was like, the car's totaled. My mom was like, no, it's not. And I was like, it is. The windshield's fucked up. It's total. That's really expensive to repair. And she was like, no, it's not. It was. That was actually exactly the issue, right? So she was like, well, it's fine. I'll get a rental car and then you'll be okay. And I was like, okay, cool. We did get a rental car. The rental car was only for 2 weeks and she took it. So my mom has a Lexus that she will not allow me to drive. My sister has another Camry, I think. Her Camry is like a 2015 or something like that. And my sister works, so I can't always just take the car from her. My mom left her Lexus in the garage, took the rental car, and then left me and my sister to split the other car, which basically meant that I never used it, right? Why she would do that, I don't know. Her excuse for it was she was like, you don't have a license, so I can't let you drive the rental car. To which I was like, I'm the only person in this family that's never had a car accident. I've never been in a car accident, period. That's the closest I've ever come to one. Yeah, I don't have a license, but I have a spotless driving record. I've never even been pulled over. That's why I've been driving for 5 years without a license. I'm a perfect driver, right? Yes, Morgan, she is in fact just like that. She is just like, she's a triple Aries, if you want to answer that you can wrap your brain around. Aries, sun, moon, and rising. And I'm a Virgo, and that's honestly the best explanation I can give you that'll make you grasp the gravity of the situation, right? So after 2 weeks, the rental car was paid for. My car still hadn't even been to the shop. So we had to wait another 2 weeks for it to get to the shop. A week for it to be there, for them to be like, we're not fixing this car. Here's the lump sum of the money. Another week, because I had to go to the shop to get my stuff out of the car because we were selling it to the shop. And my mom would not give me the address to the shop. She wanted to go, and then she took her sweet time about it, right? So we're sitting on like, I don't know how many weeks it was, 5 or 6 weeks that I just haven't had a car, right? So I live in the middle of nowhere. My neighbors have cows. You have to drive for 25 minutes to even reach civilization where I live, right? So I'm just accumulating money. I'm bleeding money, door dashing my meals, getting everything that I need shipped to me. I can't even go around the corner and get like hand soap, right? Bleeding money, right? Then we get the money for the car, and I'm like, cool. And I start blowing up her phone. I'm like, here, mind you, my mom, she has a business, all of our cars are insured under her business, for reasons that I don't feel like getting into. So my car is in her name for that reason, because it's not, my car isn't registered to a person, it's registered to her business for benefits and reasons like that. It's part of the reason why I'm able to drive without a license, right? So, I'm setting her, like, here's this car on Instagram. It's we can pay for it, like, it's under the budget, like, can we go look at it, right? I'm being ignored. That goes on for 3 weeks before I hunt her down, and I'm like, hey lady, do you want me to have a car or not? And she's like, well, you have to send me some. And I was like, I've sent you literally 40. And she was like, no you didn't. She opened up Instagram and she was like, oh, I didn't like any of these. And I was like, what didn't you like about them? And she was like, I don't know, I just don't like them. And I was like, okay, well, I just need a car, so can we just get a car? Can you please stop holding my car money ransom, and can I please just get a car, right? This bleeds into stuff like me, like when you guys buy tarot decks, I have to drive them 25 minutes to the post office. So I've been having to like all my packages have been late, and I've been accumulating TikTok fees because I have to flag down somebody in my family and catch them, like wake up at 6 a.m. and sit vigil in front of my house and wait for somebody else in my family who has a car to like be awake, and then be like, hey, can you take this with you please on the way to where you're going? And half the time they don't do it, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll take it, and then they like let it sit for 2 days in their car, and I'm like, no, that was actually like, that needed to be at the post office today. You just got me charged $30 on a $55 package, and I don't, okay, whatever, and I don't even get paid for the package until after it's arrived. So now I have to pay TikTok $30. It like messing with my money big time, messing with my sanity, right? Eventually, about a month goes by, and I'm getting another month. So we're into like we're into like March. This happened in January. We're into like March, April-ish, right? And my mom is like, I found a car for you. And I was like, hallelujah, Obashata, thank you so much. When can we get it, right? And she was like, my friend went to an auction, he found a Mini Coupe convertible, you're gonna love it. And I was like, great, don't care, I'll take it. I don't care, never cared. I was gonna get another Toyota Camry. I was thinking we could get 2 shittier Toyota Camrys and buy them for $1,000 each and get 3. That way I have 3 cars to run through. I don't give a shit, right? And she's like, oh, but there's one thing. It's manual. And I was like, I don't know how to drive manual. And she's like, well, I think it'll be good for you to learn because you should learn how to drive manual. And I fought back. I was like, I really like, my life is being really fucked up right now. Nobody else seems to care, but I'm like bleeding money out of my ears and every orifice because I don't have transportation. So I don't have time for you to dump a car on me where I have to learn how to drive manual, right? So she's like, well, it's a convertible and you'll really like it. And basically, I'm like, I don't want this car. And she's like, I'm going to bring it. You're going to look at it. You're going to love it, right? She pulls up the driveway, and I would say about 3 days later, she goes and gets this car. She pulls up the driveway with it. It is a cute car. I'm not going to lie. It's like it's a 2013 Mini Coupe 2-door convertible. It's cute, right? I'm like, okay, cool. Because in my head, the car's pulling up, and I'm like, it took me this should have been a 2-week, maybe 3-week side quest at the most. We're going on to month 4. And this is the first time I've seen you have interest in a car. So I start doing maths of what I know of my mother. And I'm like, if I say no to this car, it is a real serious consideration that it might take her another 2 months to bring another car here. So I just go, cool, I'll learn manual. I'll figure it out, right? Which then causes more issues because it's a like red-orange car with a racing stripe down the middle and a convertible top, which means that my janky Toyota Camry, I used to be able to drive that shit without a license and nobody gave a shit. Nobody even noticed me on a road. If you have a Toyota Camry or a car like that, you're basically invisible. Nobody looks at you. That car is the kind of car that you see coming from 3 miles away. So I was like, if I have to have this car, I have to get a license. Like I literally have to. I have to. And then we got into it because once she pulled the car up and she realized that I like was going for it because my mom is loco crazy, narcissist, low key, and I'm not using that word lightly. I know what it means. I mean it. Once she saw that I was being won over to the concept of the car, then she switched gears and was like, well, no, actually, I'm going to get you something else because this is a lot. And then we settled on, she was like, it's going to cost a lot of money to maintain because it's the BMW. And I was like, I will figure it out. I'll cover everything. I don't care. And she was like, and I don't want you driving it without a license. And I was like, cool, I'll get a license. Whatever I got to do to say to you to not make you move this car, because I genuinely don't think you're going to bring another car up here, because nobody seems to give a shit that I'm like dying here without transportation. And again, my boyfriend is 2 hours away. I haven't seen my partner in like 3 months. I'm bleeding money out of my orifices. It's messing with my business, like, whatever. So I just agreed. I was like, whatever I got to say to you to make you not move this car. And I'm a person of my word. So by about April, I had to do driver's ed again. mind you, I did do driver's ed. I just forgot the part where you're supposed to do, in Maryland, you have to do, like, 40 hours of driver's ed, and then you have to do 8 hours. At my age, you have to do 8 hours of drives with an instructor. So I took driver's ed in, like, 2018. Completely forgot that I had to do the instructor drives and just cruised and renewed my permit while I taught myself how to drive personally. And then when I went in to be like, hey, I'd like to get my license, they were like, you never did your drives. And I was like, true. But then by that point, the driver's ed that you go to is supposed to send your information over to the DMV of like, hey, you did the drives and everything. So I was like, I went back to the place that I got it, done it. And I was like, hey, I took your driver's ed in like 2018. I already paid for it. I already did it. Like, can I like sign up for instructor drives? And they were like, we destroy the files every like 4 years. So we don't have any of that. And if you have to start all over with either us or another company. So then I had to do driver's ed. So there was a section of time where I was posting TikToks and I was doing online driver's ed every single day while also managing my business. And then it took me like a month to learn manual. And in between, right around the driver's ed learning manual, which I want to say is like April, May, Possum went into heat because my dog isn't fixed, which is never an issue. We always manage it quite well. She got a UTI, and my giant wolfhound started pissing on my carpets in giant piles, like this big, if I didn't take her out every hour and a half. Which, as you can imagine, was not good for my mental health, right? So then we had to have vet care. I had to have it diagnosed, and I was like, either she's got a UTI or she's like lost her senses. And I have contamination. I have OCD. I cannot deal with piss being like, and mind you, that was me cleaning up the dog pee and then also like breaking my day into 6 little chunks to like continuously clean the same spots on the carpet because I was losing my mind with contamination OCD. Like there was like a whole week of my life where I was doing nothing but doing driver's ed and cleaning my carpets whenever I was sentient and awake, genuinely, and worrying that my dog had like bladder cancer, was going to die. So then, we had to do vet, we had to have a urine analysis, we had to do antibiotics, and then that ate a further hole in my money. And then my dog, Possum's going to be 10 in November. Borzoi's optimistically live to about 14, realistically 12, 11, 12, 13, that's like the range. So that kind of like put a fire to my ass of being like, okay, like, we're getting a little bit geriatric, my girl. And when I did the UTI, it took a second for me to get the antibiotics, so I had to ship them, because again, I can't drive my car anywhere, so we had to do like a virtual vet visit and everything, because I couldn't, I couldn't take my dog to the vet. They had to ship me my medication, and by the time the medication got here, she had already kind of like, she was at the end of her heat, and before I even put a single antibiotic in her, I had noticed that she was already starting to ease off of the UTI symptoms, like, pretty dramatically. So when I talked to the vet about it, they were like, how did she do on the antibiotics? And I was like, she did good, but I'm beginning to suspect that if you hadn't given me the antibiotics, when her heat ended, her bladder would have also gone back to normal. And my vet was like, I don't like the sound of that. I'm going to be really gentle when I say this, but I want you to take me seriously. You should get her spayed before her next heat. I don't like that. And I was like, bet, cool. So I got another $600 thing to pay for. And you guys might have seen that I then was like, I had unexpected vet bills. That's what that was, because it ate a hole in my fucking pockets and my sanity, worrying about my dog. So then, with all of that, I was learning how to drive manual. That car also it failed inspection, so it needed replacement parts. I think I spent about closer to $700, $800 I put into that car. Of my own money. So whatever dent that I made in my credit card debt, I put it right back up. It needed back seats. Because a part of the reason I needed a car was to take my dog places. So it had no back seats, brakes and wheels. Yeah, new tires. Right, bleeding money. And then I had just burned a hole in my pocket for the vet bills. So then I had to make a genuine, serious decision. And look at the way that I was going to have to maintain my car, look at my dogs, like, getting into this age, look at the space surgery that I now had to figure out how to pay for. And I was like, homegirl, you got to get a job. So, now I got very lucky. Some of you know, I used to be a dog groomer and, I used to be a dog walker and pet sitter. And then I was a dog groomer and I was a salon manager at Petco. And then I moved to PetSmart because I was, to put it lightly, they put me in the ghetto and I had to leave. To make a really simple statement, I was in like hell while I was managing. And I left the company for, management not management difficulties. We had a disagreement on the proper way to manage the place. Me and the company, and I left. Worked for PetSmart, but while I was at before I was a salon manager, I was trained at a Petco and then appointed as manager to a different Petco. The Petco that I trained at, we had a very close staff there. I loved that job. And the dog trainer there was a good friend of mine. So I started looking. I've said ages many times that if I didn't want to groom again, because dog grooming is kind of a lot. It's a pretty intense job that I don't think would blend really well full time with my autism. Part of the reason I left was me realizing that I was autistic and my brain was not formatted to be doing that full time. But I did look for dog careers because I was like, I know I can get a job working with dogs. I know I'm certified for it. I know that I'd go to work and I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't worry. I know I can handle animals. My entire resume up until I started doing tarot was animal handling, right? I worked at the Co and the Smart, right? I applied for a doggy daycare center, in DC, and the dog trainer from my Petco that I worked at in 2015 messaged me and was like, I'm the hiring manager. When can you come in for an interview? And I was like, oh, cool. I got the job, which I basically did. I had the job and I like it. So I work at a doggy daycare now. They have a attached grooming salon. And they asked me if I wanted to groom on Sundays, which I'm cool with. So I do that because they have a full-time groomer that works every day except for Sundays. So on Sundays I work there. It's part-time. I work from 1 to 7. And the commute is about 45 minutes from my house. So then I would say May, June, and July were me acclimating to the schedule change of being in a new job, and it's outdoors entirely, so I'm outdoors in the rain and the wind and the snow. I really like it. It's really fun. And learning how to balance that with the tarot readings and stuff like that. If you guys notice the downtick in me posting, if you go through my account with the fine comb, I promise you that downtick in me posting happened long before January. So part of the reason why I made the decision to get a part-time job was because it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this and then it's gonna take away from doing tarot. I know back in the day when I first started doing this, I was posting 3 TikToks a day. I was going live for 10 hours a day. Not 10, that's excessive, 6 hours a day. I don't feel that joie de vivre anymore. It's just I'm too old, or I used to do it too much. Privately, I think it has a little bit to do with just me. I don't need to in order to maintain what I have going on. You gotta grind when you first get up there. So I'd already noticed that I just had a lot of free time in the day that I just wasn't filling with anything. I was doing my tarot work at a pretty low rate and then had the rest of my day. So I just filled the rest of the day with work. So I promise you I haven't started posting less because of my job. I got a job because I was posting less and it just made sense for me to just go ahead and get something. And I tried. That's been an issue for the last 2 years of me not posting the way I used to when I first started. I've tried everything to try and re-motivate myself, and it just seems like this is the pace that I want to do this at. Ugh. And then after I got comfortable in the job, the head groomer left on a 2-week vacation, and they asked me if I wanted to take over for the 2 weeks that she was gone. And what that looked like, I work 1 to 7. What they did is they would just book me dogs in the morning, and I would open my phone, look at my schedule, and then just come in as early as I needed to get the dogs done before 1 o'clock. And then after I was finished grooming, I would do my 1 to 7 shift dog handling in the dog parks. So then there was a 2-week. I think this week is my first week that I'm not doing that. So the last 3 weeks, I got used to the job, and then right when I got used to the job, I got offered an opportunity to make basically extra $800 per paycheck. So I took it, and that was me working from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. most days, waking up at 7, 6 to get to work. And now that's over. And through it all, I really especially miss the Sims lives. But now I'm balanced, and I took the extra grooming shifts because, again, I need to get Possum spayed. I was in a little bit of a obnoxious financial hole, just not feeling good about my finances with the whole car thing and with Possum. And then I had to do that thing when I got hired. When you get a job because you need money, but then you spend the first 3 weeks that you're working, the 2 weeks when you get paid, and then the week before, because of course you always get hired right when everybody gets paid, so you have the extra week tacked on. You spend all of that time with no money in your pockets trying to dig up money to commute to work and pay for lunch and stuff like that. So I'd also done that and burned a further hole in my pockets. So when they were do you want to work these extra shifts, I was like, yeah, I will, 100%, absolutely. Yeah, $600 for my kids to pay, right? And my dog is the size of David and Goliath, both together, both of them. So I'm looking at a nice hefty bill. She also needs dental work. She needs a good dental cleaning, which is a nice $700 bill. I'm back. That's what I'm saying, is I'm back. And I know I was alluding to, like, I got a lot going on right now. A nigga got a lot going on. I did. I literally, this has been going on since January. I just got my shit together now. Down to the hyperlexic pre-orders, they're arriving tomorrow. And I'll have them out. Like, I promise you. Hey, what do we always say? I take my time, but I get it all together. I'm a woman of my word. We're here. I've got it. So we're at a point where I think we can go back to streaming. I'm off Wednesdays and Saturdays. Ideally, I would like to, like, maybe stream after work on days that aren't those days. Every once in a while, I can't promise I'll be streaming every Wednesday or Saturday, because I do have a whole ass relationship, so I use some of those off days to go visit my partner. We're gonna try the tarot streams. I really want to do the Sims stream again, because I actually miss it. I haven't played Sims in months, because I just don't want to do things without you guys. We had a good thing going. I feel bad if I, like, progressed too far in a family and I haven't showed you guys what's going on. And also, I've just been too busy and too stressed. Couldn't even fathom this year better than me. Thank you. I do feel really good. I do really like my job, guys. I have a bunch of dogs that are my close personal friends. The only thing I don't like about my job is that it's made me really want another dog, like, really badly. Especially since I have access to a grooming salon again, and I get free boarding and doggy daycare, which means that I could just take my dog to work with me all day if I wanted to, and if I feel overloaded, I could leave my dog on the weekends. Possum doesn't like the heat, and it's really hot right now. She's at an age where she really isn't fucking with other dogs anymore, at all. I took her into work, she was not fucking with it, and Possum likes her dog bed, and she likes her air conditioning, and I feel bad depriving her of it, because I genuinely think if I brought her to work, even if I could get her settled and comfortable with, like, the hullabaloo, she'd be the dog that's sitting in the office in a beanbag. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not really quite fair to do. And she's also getting to an age where, like, I don't really feel like I'm taking care of a dog anymore. We go on our, like, morning potty break, and she doesn't want more than one potty break a day. I feed her, I water her, and otherwise she's on her dog bed taking naps. You know what I mean? She doesn't do much else. So I feel like now I'm around dogs all day, I'm like, I want another one. And I don't like that, because that's a costly venture. I've been up the last week looking at, like, on Pet Finder, like, we've returned to the land of insanity. And as Morgan said, I got a little bit proactive. I did 2 insane things, which is, I know I just been talking about how, like, money, stress. I did 2 insane things. Somebody was looking to rehome an Irish Wolfhound, Scottish Deerhound mix in my area, for a rehome fee, and I applied for that. That's a long shot. Significantly cheaper than adoption, standard adoption, or buying another Borzoi. But they'd have to think that I was a good home for the dog. I'd have to meet the dog and also agree, and then we'd have to, like, make sure that her and Possum got along. But I did put my name in the running, because I'm crazy. And then I also, there's a Borzoi breeder that I'm familiar with that has a litter that'll be ready to go home in October, and I did send an application in. I did. And that's, if I could be blunt on this channel, that's an $1,800 venture that I don't know where I'm gonna get that. I'll get it. I'll trust and believe I'll get it, but I don't got it at this exact moment. So that's a tell me yes and I'll figure out how to make it work later kind of answer. Because I apparently just don't have any common sense anymore. So that's why I've been gone. I promised that I would explain to you guys what was going on. That's all of it. Most of the animals we have saved somehow, strays or animals that need rehomed. I feel that. I consider that. We don't get a lot of strays around here. My job has a couple of dogs up for adoption. There's a puppy at my job right now, Shoni, who's like a hound, who I could take, to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of him. If I could be blunt, he's a little ugly. If you could imagine a greyhound mixed with like a coonhound, that's kind of what he looks like. So he's got like a really skinny face. Like his head is like this big, and his ears are like the size of my hands, and he's like really narrow and gangly in like a way that I don't like. I really tried to like him. I really like have been, because I work with him and I'm in the field with him all day, and I like watch him. like, maybe I should just, like, put an application, but I can feel the facial expression that I'm making when I look at him, and it's not a good one. Like, you know how people say, like, Virgos can't hide their facial expressions? I think I look at that dog with a face that's, like, and that just doesn't bode well, you know? So I'm thinking maybe we should leave him for somebody that actually wants him. Possum's become a little bit dog selective in her old age, and I'm pretty sure that I could manage introducing her to an older dog. But I know my dog, and I know that if I bring a puppy home, we'll be golden, and it'll be her bestie. Any older dog, I'm kind of risking stressing her out in a way that I don't really want to, so I kind of exclusively do, in this case, need a puppy. I also have a very unsupportive household that will not be happy about me getting a puppy, a dog in general, a second dog. They didn't want me to get Possum. But that transition is more easily understandable and smooth if I come home with a cute little puppy and be like, I couldn't resist, than it is if I bring home a giant dog. And if you don't know what an Irish Wolfhound is, I do want you to pause and Google, specifically Irish Wolfhound size, and I want you to imagine me pulling up and popping one of those bad boys out of the back of a Mini Cooper convertible, and see if you wouldn't think that I lost my motherfucking mind. You know what I mean? And I do tend to favor large dogs. So we're looking at, like, golden retriever size and up. I'd be coming home with an eldritch monster and being like, I don't know. Look at him. You know, I just couldn't resist. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a whole different, like, mindset. You know what I mean? Possum was a baby when I got her, and it was like, oh, and everybody understood, and then I would tell them, like, that's how big she's gonna get, and they'd be like, why would you get that dog? It's a whole different thing to bring home a Borzoi puppy and a full-grown Borzoi. Literally, Marmaduke, yes. Would understand if you couldn't resist a Wolfhound. And the gag is that I like Irish Wolfhounds, and I like, Scottish Deerhounds, and I've often considered getting both breeds. And the reason why I have a Borzoi instead of either one is because I actually can't decide between which I prefer. Like, I like them both equally, and I can't decide which I would rather own. So getting a mix of them is amazing. And if you've been here, we know ethical, like, dog ownership and breeding is one of my little niche sub things that I throw onto the tarot that I do. So on top of everything else, I don't believe in mixing dog breeds. It's very unethical. It's a bad reason to produce more dogs in the world when there's already so many dogs that need homes. It's not a good enough reason to be adding to the population, right? So I can't exactly go and support somebody who intentionally breeds wolfhounds and deerhounds and mixes them. I can't. It's against my values. The one that's being rehomed apparently was an accidental litter. She wrote accidental in air quotes, so I don't know what she wrote accidental in air quote with quotes around it, and then was like it was never supposed to happen. So I don't know if she's implying that she knows that it was, like, I don't know, but it's not my problem because I'm rehoming the dog and adopting it. So it's not unethical for me to adopt a cross mix. It's unethical for me to give money out of my hand to pay somebody who intentionally produced mixed breed dogs and added to the shelter population. Like, if I had gone out and, like, searched, like, you know, wolfhound cross breeding, and then I bought a puppy and somebody was like, yeah, I have multiple wolfhounds and I'm making them have babies for crosses, that's, like, not cool. No bueno. That's backyard breeding and supporting backyard breeding. But it's not my problem. And you're not supposed to cross those dogs, and nobody does because they're both rare. So I was looking at it and I was like, this is so stupid of me to do. But also it's like seeing a unicorn in the wild. I've never in all of my days even heard of a dog like that being up for rehoming, never mind a $50 rehoming fee. So I fear that you guys are gonna have to forgive me for my nonsense. Do you know what I mean? I'm not gonna take it, and realistically my backyard doesn't have a high enough fence that most Borzoi breeders would feel confident about giving me a dog. I'm quite worried because of my since I got Possum, there have been a lot of, like, strong and correct opinions in the Borzoi community about the way you should exercise Borzoi puppies so that they grow into their bone structure the way they need to, right? And essentially when I got Possum, I was in an apartment and I did what I needed to do to get her leg stretched down to, like, waking up at 5 a.m. and, like, taking her to parks so that she could run. But since I got Possum, I've learned that I'm very lucky, and most Borzoi breeders will not give, if you live in an apartment, regardless of what you say otherwise, you're not getting a dog from them because they think that in order for the dogs to be properly exercised, they need a, like, large yard where they could run ideally with another Borzoi or Sighthound in order to get the proper muscle density. So I have a backyard that is only 4 foot tall fence, which works for Possum because Possum doesn't jump. She thinks anything that like hits her this high is impenetrable. If I ever had a doubt that Possum would, jump that fence, she wouldn't be outside, but she's never tried to jump. I can put a storage bin in front of Possum and block off a stairway, and she'll never go around it. She's been like that since she was a baby, so I know my dog. A 4 foot fence. I have a 4 foot fence. I have a Borzoi. If that's not good enough, I also work at a doggy daycare, which would allow me to bring my dog to work and just have them in a field with multiple dogs with a 7 foot tall fence for hours a day. But I don't know how ethical breeders feel about doggy daycares. I know how they feel about dog parks. I have no idea how they feel about doggy daycares, even with the additional context that I'm not just taking my dog to doggy daycare. I work at the doggy daycare and know my coworkers and would be there all day with my dog. And then the third option, if that's not good enough, I know like 4 local dog parks that are always empty, that I could take the dog to. And if you think that I'm not the kind of dog owner that will wake up at 4 a.m., take their dog to the dog park and sit outside for 6 hours with my dogs, like, and then stretch their legs before I go into work, I absolutely am. I'm insane. But I have to convince a Borzoi breeder of all of that, so I don't feel very confident in my application. Do you know what I mean? Silently cut somebody off recently for getting a $2,000 backyard bred Dachshund. Yeah, snaps for you. I can't even remember what I'm supposed to be doing. Snaps. I love that. I had a falling out with a long-term friend of mine. Like, what was that? Last October, November, that I think I talked about a little bit on here. I tried not to because I know that person still has me on TikTok. And it's not the reason why we stopped being friends, but one of the things that always did bother me about them was that they had a dog that they got from a pet store. And we were friends long enough that I did educate them about it, but I never forgot, like, I was a salon manager at the time, and I did tell them, because they were like, well, my dog wasn't backyard bred, and I was like, it was, and they were like, I got it from Petland, and I was like, that is actually, like, chief backyard breeder, like, that's puppy mill shit. And they were like, well, my dog had Continental Kennel Club paperwork, and I was like, that, you can register a shoe on Continental Kennel Club, that doesn't mean anything. And they, like, argued with me, and this was somebody that I'd known them for a while at that point, you know what I mean? And it always bothered me that they argued with me, and then and it was a constant argument that we would have for, like, months of our friendship before I don't even know if I ever fully convinced them. I think that I just, like, they stopped talking about it. It always, like, made my eye twitch and bothered me a little bit. Is it a shoe? Yeah. Continental Kennel Club will let you register anything. Anything. I told them, I was like, if it's not AKC registered, it doesn't mean anything. And I was like, and both the parents should have been, you know, people say, like, oh, my dog's grandfather was a champion. Not good enough to not be backyard bred. The direct parents of your dog should both have their champion title before you even consider breeding them, by the way. If your dog's parents haven't been in dog shows, like, you have photos of them on judges' tables with ribbons, more than one, they're not supposed to be bred to be having puppies. Like, that's a thing, by the way. And I that's not common knowledge. Just throwing that in there. A dog show isn't like a competition. Like, oh, I can do hair, I can do nails, I can, sew. In the real world, most hobbies work like that, where there's a subject, like, I can do art, right? But just because I don't enter my art in art shows doesn't mean that I'm not an artist. That's how most hobbies work. That is not the way that dogs work. The function of a dog show isn't something for fun that you do as, like, a hobby. Every breed, you know how you look at, like, a golden retriever and a Dalmatian, you're like, that's a golden retriever and that's a Dalmatian. It's because all of those breeds have a certain look. The way that you make sure that those dogs look and function the way they're supposed to function is you have something called a breed standard, which is usually a 100-year-old standard that the breeders of those dogs agreed on. This is what this dog should look like. These are the parameters, the height, the weight, the way it should look. If it doesn't look like this, it's not a good example of the breed. If it's out of these dimensions, it's not considered a dog of the breed. That's why we don't have huskies that are like this tall. It has to be a certain height to be a husky, right? It's a breed standard. What a dog show is that people who have been in the dog industry for decades get together and they look at other people's dogs, judge them against the standard, and a dog show ribbon is a thumbs up that multiple experts have said your dog looks, moves, feels, and has the temperament that it is supposed to have to be considered a member of this breed, right? So the reason why your dog should be a grand champion before you breed them is because a grand champion proves that multiple judges saw your dog and went, I have given my unbiased opinion, because you have enough data for it to be unbiased, that this is a good example of the breed and that this breeder is doing what they're supposed to do. So once you get a championship title, that is, you've had enough points awarded across all of your dog shows that enough people have not they've qualified your dog enough that it's considered like that's fair. That's good. That is definitely a good representation of the breed. And then you go, now that I have proof this is a good Dalmatian or a good, Golden Retriever or whatever, now I can breed that dog. What a really good breeder does is they want every single dog that they breed, that they're, that they consider part of their program, to be dog showed. And then they might have 6 Golden Retrievers, and all of those Golden Retrievers have grand championships, and then they'll pick the one maybe best dog they really like, that they feel is the best out of the 6 that they have, and then they'll go find another dog to pair that with that another breeder has that they also think is exceptional, to improve on the breed and get even closer to meeting that standard, because the standard is there's no perfect example of any breed. You're breeding to try and improve them to meet this level of perfection that doesn't really exist, right? So that is to say, when people say that my dog's great grandfather was a grand championship, your dog is backyard bred. The only exclusion to that is, I would say, if people have unneutered dogs in their house and they accidentally have a litter. But even then, part of responsible dog ownership is either fixing your dog or watching them to make sure that they're not, altered. And the shelter crisis is such a big deal that if you do have a dog that gets pregnant, you're supposed to get a spay abort. Just because your dog has babies does not mean that you have to have those babies come to full term. You should be getting a spay abort. You can take your dog to get spayed, and they can remove the embryos that are in the dog while they get it. And the sooner you do it, the easier. A lot of people don't know that. So when somebody goes, my dog just had puppy, like she was pregnant, and then they're like, well, now I have to keep them. You literally don't. You don't have to bring 12 more puppies into this world that you only have 2 homes for and dump the other 8 at a shelter. You don't. You don't. And it's not some kind of mystery. It's common knowledge. People are just very, very, very committed and stubborn to being ignorant and mildly abusive to every single dog that they own. I don't know why that is. And I know I sound like an asshole right now, and I'm so sorry that if I told you something that you didn't know and you're realizing that you have a backyard bred dog, or you know somebody that's a backyard bred dog, I promise you, I and everybody else that knows this information isn't mad at you for not knowing. My anger begins when I tell somebody these things. I will give you time to go look it up on Google, and I suggest you don't use Google. I suggest you go to Dog People. I wouldn't even trust vets. Go to dog show people, because they're the people that are experts in this kind of stuff. And verify what I said. And if you get that verification, you still choose to be ignorant, now I'm mad. Because I used to have backyard bred dogs. I used to, be really willy-nilly about the way that I own dogs. You learn better, you do better. When you learn better and you choose ignorance willfully is when I start getting irritated. But the level of comfort people have with being deeply ignorant about their dogs, hurts me, especially since the dogs are often the ones that suffer. And as someone who's worked in the pet industry, I was the one that was the caretaker of that suffering, that was arguing with people, that was trying to get them to understand basic care needs. And I promise you, I'm pretty understanding. Me, myself, so we can feel comfortable having this conversation, I have my dog from a show breeder. And I had Possum for 5 years, and I was a model pet parent for the first 5 years I had her. We did doggy daycare, we did puppy playtime, we did teeth brushing, nails trim. She was in the dog salon every month. I used to paint her nails, I used to dye her colors, all of the above, right? And then when I found out that I was autistic, and I realized that the reason why I kept having mental breakdowns and being in the psych ward was because I was trying to live a neurotypical life when I was not. I had to step back. The same way people get cancer and they get sick and they have to take a couple years off to attend to that illness, I had to take a couple years off to attend to my mental illness. Of course, we all know that's not really considered valid in large society. I have started to default to telling people that I was sick for 5 years and just not specifying the sickness, because it's true and that's what it was. But if I say that I was mentally ill, they don't understand. I took 5 years off and was useless, including to myself. Part of the reason why I had a shaved head when I started this when I started this channel, besides the fact that I looked really good with it, was because I didn't have the money to afford hair shampoo, and I also didn't have the spoons or the time to factor in hair care into me figuring out how to take care of myself as an autistic person and what I could handle, right? So I also left the plate of reality and let myself suffer and let my animal suffer for a couple of years, because it was like, we're in this together. I'm not doing so hot. I'm gonna need you to have to cruise off of all the good work that I did the first 5 years for a little bit while mama gets her shit together. And now I've gotten it together and we're back on track. So I'm never mad at people about that. There's a lot of, the same way that I talk to you guys about, like, when it comes to trans people and pronouns, that a trans person can tell the difference between someone who's ignorant and doesn't give a shit about respecting us and someone who's really trying their best but isn't used to, like, using they them pronouns. Pet professionals can also tell the difference between somebody who's willfully ignorant, mildly abusive, and neglectful, and somebody who is really trying their best but doesn't have the money that they used to, doesn't have the job that they used to, has a change in resources, a change in their energy level, a change in their living situation, and can't take care of their dog the way they used to. I promise you. And I'm saying all that partially because it's true, but also because I don't want anybody to close their ears to my rant, because I've, like, triggered you and you're like, oh my god, I'm the worst dog owner in the world. You know what I mean? You're not. I promise you, you're not. Think of it instead of, like, I can always be a little bit better and I just learned something new today. That's my rant. Is it even a big stream if I don't go on a side rant about dogs? I also really thought about getting a different breed of dog, by the way. I literally pulled out my dog encyclopedia the other day. Do you guys remember that stream where I pulled out my dog encyclopedia and we're showing you guys shit? I pulled it out the other day and went through it page by page, because I was like, well, we're thinking about getting another dog. Why don't we mix it up? You know what I mean? Because I work in DC, and DC is a very, like, upper middle class city. So I've been showing Moldy pictures. I've seen 2 Dalmatians at my job. There's an Anatolian Shepherd at my job. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, who else have I seen? Oh, there's a Vizsla at my dog. At my work, there's 3 Elkhounds. So I be in the field, and I have, like, genuine close personal friendships with these dogs. Now those are my homies, and I'm sitting there with, like, a Vizsla in one hand, an Australian Shepherd, and a Border Collie, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I want to get one of you fuckers, right? So I did go through my dog breed book a little while ago, and I looked through everything and considered mixing it up. I looked at Deerhounds before I found the mix. Wolfhounds I think are off. I don't want a regular Wolfhound. Their lifespan is, like, crazy short. I can't do 7 years. I need at least 10. I considered Chihuahua, but I don't think I like the way that they look anymore. I think their faces are ugly. Something's come over me. I do love Chihuahuas in theory, though. I've been having a look at myself and trying to figure out if I'm one of those dog people that can handle, like, a more strenuous breed. So I've been thinking about Border Collies, Aussies, Beaucherons, a Belgian Lakenois, I think is how you pronounce it. One of the subbreeds of Belgian Malinois, or a Tervuren, I looked into, thinking about getting one. And I came very close to getting a Lakenois, however you pronounce it. I've read that one a lot. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Lakenois. I really thought about that one, to be honest, for a very long time. Not a Malinois. I don't want a Malinois. There's Malinois, there's Belgian Shepherds have 4, like, breeds that go under them. So there's the Malinois, the Tervuren, the Lakenois, and I always forget the 4th one. You'll have to forgive me. I literally can never remember the 4th one. But there are 4 that, like, make a subgroup of themselves in the Belgian Shepherds, and a Lakenois is one of those. It's not a Malinois. They're different, like, breeds. You should all get healers. Yeah. Mind you, I work with a healer, and she's actually pretty chill. I thought about that too. They're kind of cutie patooties up close. But I think I'm going back to Borzois. There's a dog at my work named Murphy who I love. And if I could, I would get a dog just like him. I've been thinking about stealing him. That's how bad we are. That's where we're at. We're down bad. I'm genuinely thinking of stealing him. And I took a good look at him yesterday, and in his face, he's very, I would say, like, healer-y. But I was looking at his body the other day, and if anybody's ever seen, like, a Borzoi or a Silken Windhound, his body, like, the way that his hair sits is very, like, Borzoi, Silken Windhoundy, and I want him, but he's a super mutt, so I can't get anything that even remotely resembles him. And I was looking at him yesterday and I was like, I think the reason why I like you is that you're the dog that has the closest like body and hair coat to a Borzoi. Like I really thought about it the other day and I was like, I think that you're just kind of very Borzoi looking. And I think that's why I'm a little bit obsessed with you. I think I see the Borzoi in him, if that makes sense. He's not part Borzoi, but he's very... What I really like the way his coat lays. Like, I think that if he had a shorter coat, I wouldn't like him as much. And I was looking at his coat and I was like, he just looks like a Borzoi. That's what it is. So we're back to the drawing board. Oh yeah, I forgot somebody in your family has a Belgian Malinois. They're psycho. I was also thinking about getting an Aussie because some of the Aussies at my work are really chill. But one of my favorite dogs at work, Beckham, is an Aussie, and he's got like 4 screws missing. He's got like the blue-eyed crazy stare. And he's one of those dogs where you can like bring a toy out and like he'll like grab it and then you can literally like lift him off the ground and dangle him by his face like with the toy and he'll just and I watched him do it yesterday and I was like, you know what? Don't think we can do a Aussie either because I can't risk having that in my house. One of my favorite other dogs, Brady, is a German Shepherd mix, and he looks like the spitting image of a Lacanois, and I love him, and that's why I was thinking about getting him. Getting one, to be honest. The issue is that I don't like the way all of them look. So I don't know what to do about that. And I did also look up getting one. I didn't see any current litters, and the ones that did have their price, we were well above $4,000. So I think that's a no for me. Weirdly enough, not to make everybody run to them like hotcakes, out of all the purebred dogs that I've ever seen, Borzois are one of the cheapest. I don't know why. When I got Possum, she was $1,000. They're sitting at $1,800 to $2,000 right now. Maybe $2,200. Every other breed that I looked up, and I looked up like 30, over 3. Like $375 minimum. I have cards, guys. I promise we're going to do tarot. In fact, I'll do it in a second. I just talk for a really long time. Let me find you a fun song. I don't know if we've been enjoying the 21 Pilots. I might switch it up. Just a smidge. We'll do medium spicy. I'll find us a good song and I'll take a second for myself. I'm getting a splitting headache. Borzoi are niche. Yeah. And weirdly enough, I think I'm addicted to having a Borzoi. I had to take Possum to the to Petco a little while ago. And I was genuinely, when I first got her, no one knew who she was. Hold on, I'll answer your question, or I'll address it rather. No one knew what she was, and I had to explain to people, like, what kind of dog I have. In the 10 years since I've had her, now people, like, will, like, be like, oh my god, is that a Borzoi? I've never seen one in real life before. And I did enjoy that. I did enjoy that. There's just a certain, like, aura that you get from having a Borzoi that I think I'm addicted to. Like, if we can be, like, assholes about it. And yeah, I do work at a doggy daycare. I was only going to add on to that you'll have to forgive me if I tell you exactly where I work. I have another coworker that I think, I don't know what app she does it on. I feel like it's Instagram, but she sings, and she live streams as well. And I overheard her telling one of my managers about, like, her live streams doing really well. And he was like, you should shout us out on live stream. And she was like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, like shout out the business. And I've thought about, like, doing that. But also, you guys are here. You know what the spiritual community is like. I don't want to do that. Because I think that you guys are cool, and I think that you guys would probably be chill. Like, whoever's asking, whoever usually talks in these chats, are really chill. But I also know there's, like, 3 people watching that have an actual screw loose out of their head. I know, just off of pure math and statistics. You know what I mean? And it's the last thing I fucking need. Also, I'm a lot, like, meaner in person than I am in real life. I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say. It's not that, like, I'm a nice person. I largely think my identity online is near identical to my identity in person. But I'm nice in the sense, I think I often make the wrong impression on people that I'm nice and I don't, like, have that dog in me. I do. It's just really hard to get to it. If you showed up at my job and were like, I know you from TikTok, so I just came here to say hi. I'm actually going to try and run you through with a spear. And I'm being so serious. Like, that's going to be my instinctual reaction to it. So, like, don't ever do that and think it's going to go well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be, you're not going to get a polite, like, oh my God. And I'm not going to duck in and, like, call the police. The way that you would react if you saw your clone on the street, maybe that's just me. If I see my clone on the street, you gotta die. Like, if I'm walking this way, you're walking that way, and I meet your eyes, and you look like me, that's my face and my outfit. I've watched too much TV, I fear. We're boxing on site. Like, I'm not gonna ask you anything. I'm not gonna say anything. You've gotta die. You're gonna get the same reaction to me if I recognize you from TikTok and I can see in your face that you're stalking me. I'm literally just gonna put my hands on you. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. It won't turn up well. It won't go well for anybody. We had this conversation when I briefly had my business address linked to my real life address, and I think, bless their heart, again, so sorry if you're this person. There is somebody that I sent them a tarot deck, and they sent back a thank you card to my home address. And I didn't like that, and I changed the address that my business was at after that. You're like, we own guns? I was. And I feel bad, because I don't think they meant me any harm, like, at all. It was a very nice message. Very sweet. The only part where they went wrong was thinking that was gonna, that was going to do anything but creep me out. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, genuinely, it could have been a DM. Could have been a DM. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like that. There was a little bit of a lack of boundaries energy to, like, the choice of messenger, and a very clear, like, tone that they thought this was going to be welcome, and, like I was going to really, really deeply enjoy it, and I was like, hate that. But also at my core, I'm overheating. I'm a Virgo, and we like our privacy. I feel like if there's anything, Zendaya and Beyonce are both Virgos, and so is Michael Jackson, and don't we still to this day not know the mother of Michael Jackson's kids or something like that? It's I fear I'm a classic Virgo in that sense. Fame and infamy is never more important to me than, like, keeping my little secrets. Yes, Morgan could send something to me. But I think I've given you my address. I welcome you to send things to me. I actually have, hold on, fun fact. Morgan sent me this. I have a card. You won't be able to read it, but phew, took a screenshot if you were fast enough, maybe. But you're not. And that's not the only thing of Morgan's that I have. I have art right here. Actually, you drew me, I have a couple of pictures, I think, of my OC that you drew me. And I have them, like, away, and I keep opening the drawer that I have them in, looking at them, and go, I need to buy frames for that. And then I have ADHD, so I close the drawer, and then it ceases to exist to me every single time. I do it, like, once a week. Morgan's art is very beautiful. Oh my God, I've actually given myself a headache. I forgot about this. I really did. I forgot about this super bad. Do you know what I want to do? Do you know it'd be so fun to me? And I don't know if I can handle it. I really want to do Sim streams. I miss playing Sims with you guys. I think we had a really great time. The issue is that I didn't want to do, if I could, I would have done a Sim stream today. That would have been my introduction back, especially after my embarrassing, I don't know if you guys, if all of you know this, but the last Sim stream that I did, my dumb, stupid ass set the video on private, and did the whole stream with it on private and unlisted. So I was sitting there. My worst fear is that if there's one person in this chat, even if that person is just moldy, I'm having a great time. I have a fear of, like, sitting here and being on stream for hours and having, like, 0 people there. Not in, like, a way of, like, you know, like, oh, I need attention, but in a way of, like, if nobody wants this, I'm just simply gonna stop doing it. Do you know what I mean? That stream had 0 people in it. And I was like, well, you know, it's okay, it happens. And I proceeded to do, like, a 3-hour Sim stream, talking to myself, hoping that maybe one person would come in. I really felt like, you know those movies or, like, TV shows where it's somebody's birthday and they do a surprise party for the person, but they do it by, like, making, like, pretending like everybody forgot their birthday, so they go through the day like sad, and they hit the denial stage with like maybe they don't know, and then they're like, no, all of my friends forgot, I'm gonna make the best of it. I was doing that, putting on a brave face, did the whole stream, and then got to the end of it and was like, okay, I guess nobody's showing up, like, it's okay. I had fun, like, I was, like, bucking myself up, like, you know, and then I closed the stream and saw that it was set on private, and I felt like an idiot, and it literally embarrassed me to my core, and I haven't done a sim stream since. It would have probably taken me, like, a week or two to, like, go back to streaming after that, because honestly, the realization it was my own fault, and I was having a pity party in my head for a issue that I created was humiliating to me on a microcellular level. But then I got busy with the car stuff, and I haven't had time to do it anyways. So I've been wanting to go back anyways to get my big redo. And if I had my way, I would have just done a sim stream. But I realized that after disappearing for like 5 months, I owed you guys the explanation of like why I was gone. And I was like, it's not fair of me to do that on a sim stream where I know objectively like less of you watch. Which if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't give a shit, I'm never gonna sit in the sim stream, I think that you probably enjoy it, to be honest. We have a lot of fun on playing Sims. I like to believe it's kind of I joke that I'm running the show and I don't let anybody make any decisions, but I think we have a pretty interactive time. I've been thinking a lot. There was one stream where Strawberry Mooncake convinced me to put 2 toilets in a bathroom, so we perfectly angled them so that my Sims who were in a parasocial couple could basically like hold hands while they were both shitting at the same time. And it was a really good laugh. It was really good. They were like a new couple that were moving in together, so we had like some of the only decor they had was pictures of each other. They had like, instead of a couch, they had a big flat screen TV and then 2 little chairs with a table in between them, and the table had like a picture of them on it, so they would like sit and watch their own like watch movies and hold hands. And then we had their bathroom set up so the toilet just had so they could take a shit at the same time. It was really funny. What's up, Eeks? We have a good time over there. Sims is my game, and I can't ever promise that I'll play anything else. I know you guys want me to play Pair Lives, and I do have Pair Lives. I'm not gonna lie. As an expansion pack junkie, it is simply not hitting the way that Sims has at this given time. I played Pair Lives, enjoyed Pair Lives. I got the Sims bug in me, so I need more content before I go back to Pair Lives. I fear the EA model of like dumping a stuff pack or a kit or expansion pack full of new content every like 3 months. It's in my blood. What can I say? I've been playing Sims since I was 5. I simply just need to be inundated with content in order to stay engaged with the game. Just gotta wait for it to full release, yes. But I did enjoy the bare bones. I'm just not the kind of person that could play like bare bones for multiple. I did like a good 12 to like 16 hours with it, and I was like, I've seen everything I need to see. Love it. List it, showing up, tell me what to pay for, give me more, call me when you have more, and then I put it back down. Although, you know what, I haven't really built in it, so I probably need to do that, to be honest. I'm a Sims 4 truther, and it's a very unpopular opinion, but I don't actually like having access to a color wheel. It really like overwhelms me. And then I have this really annoying urge to make everything match too much. I feel like, anyways, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. How about we do a little bit tarot? Is everybody good with that? Let me try and shut up for a second. I'm gonna get you a really good song that you guys are gonna like. I'm gonna get you a really good song. No pressure for me, I guess. A lot of pressure. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll find a good song. You're gonna like it. I promise you're gonna like it. Maybe. I'm feeling less confident by the second. Oh, wait. We can do this one. No, where'd you go? Oh, fuck you. Now I have to manually get it. Hold on. It was in my shuffle list, and I went past it. And then I went back, and it wasn't there anymore. I have to manually search it. Here you go. Let me get some coffee on me. Color wheel did make my Sims 3 builds better. And Water Pink's zebra print room. I get overloaded. Thank you. The compliment on the top. I get overloaded with the ability to choose anything. And then I will either spend 10 hours on one section of a room, or I'll go, oh my god, it's too hard to think. And then I start picking default swatches anyways. That's not the song I told you to play. This one. There you go. Let me get some coffee on me. It's a good idea. I should play Landria's song. but then I'll have to pay attention to it. What's up, Pimple Pixie? Long time no see. How you doing? I'll do tarot in a second, I promise. I'm fighting to not talk. What helps me with default swatches is that I just get really in character. Sorry, I need to go on I'll make this quick, I swear I will. So, your first gen Sims tend to be like OCs, right? They tend to like look the way you want them to look, act, you know what I mean? They're like your style, you know what I mean? If you're a cottagecore person, you're gonna make a cottagecore ass starter sim or starter family, right? I'm a big proponent of randomizing in the Sims as much as possible because you are the person that you are, and part of the way you get challenge and flavor and story is letting that element play out. It's the difference between writing like fan fiction and like playing D&D with a DM who's going to challenge you and make it so that there's certain things you have to work around, right? I like to play Sims like D&D. So your first Sim is always going to be like an OC, and if you have a very specific style, you're really going to struggle in the Sims to get that style on paper unless you've had a whole pack or something like that, right? After that first generation, I recommend that you randomize the skills. What I do is I randomize the traits for the kids, unless I have a really strong feeling. Like if I'll randomize like the first 3 age ups, and then if I'm really like, oh, I see you're growing into a nerd and I want to feed this, right? I might pick a trait, but even then I strongly suggest you don't, because you can get some really interesting stuff. I had a Sim that I was building up to be like a golden child in like kind of an abusive family, and then she rolled the want to be like a werewolf. And it changed the whole trajectory of my story. It's not a choice that I would have made on my own. So randomize as much as possible. When they age up and their clothes randomize, right? What I do is that I try and use that as a base and just improve it. You know what I mean? So if a Sim ages up and they have like buck teeth and glasses, I'll work with that. I might pick different items, but like I'll take notes from like the outfit that they had and be like, okay, I'm going to give you're wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I'm going to give you a different pair of jeans and t-shirts. I'll take a note that you're kind of like you dress down, right? And then they become a person that isn't like an OC. They're like a character that has been built by the game. And then what I do is I when I'm decorating their house, I try and think of what would this character decorate their house as, not what do I individually, me, find attractive, right? So in that case, I find like the Sims 4 like useful, because I have a certain Sim that I would say has like she's like a first generation immigrant. She's like Filipino. And she loves the color red. And I just, after playing her for ages, I didn't make her and I didn't randomize her. She's a maid that I married into my family. I just like have this very strong feeling that she has kind of like a slightly garish like style. Like that she thinks she's really, really like trendy. And it's not that it's ugly, but it is a little bit like tackier than usual. So she uses colors that are like way too bright, or like her favorite color red. She's just liable to paint the walls red, even if it's just not, it's smarter to use it as an accent color. So there's a lot of items in The Sims 4 that I think are really ugly and swatches that I hate, but they're perfect for the characters that I have because I would never pick that. Do you know what I mean? And then when I have access to a color wheel, because it's at my fingertips, I find it a lot harder for me to go, let me intentionally make this ugly of my free will, versus Sims, which is, there is that ugly item that I never use. I finally have the perfect Sim that this makes sense with, and now I can use it in that swatch that I never used. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not arguing. I'm mostly just like explaining why it works for me in the way that my brain works. So I feel like I'm a Sims 4 truther, and I feel like Sims 4 is very misunderstood, or it's not a game for everybody. I happen to be of like the 5% population that a lot of the things that people hate about The Sims 4 works really well for me and my gaming style, like perfectly, and I wouldn't change it. Okay, I'll drink my coffee. Bix, shut up for 5 minutes challenge. I mean, the building process is incredible. That's a strong compliment. I don't think I've ever built anything like completely from the ground up that I was proud of. I really like I like downloading other people's houses on Sims and then like upgrading them. Like I treat them like a house that I just purchased, so I'll keep the outside the same, and like strip them down, like take all the furniture out, and then I might add like an extension to the house or like a pool, but I try and keep the extensions like what you could reasonably get done in the real world, and then I furnish it. And I always enjoy those houses. It sometimes takes me a couple of times of like doing the house, playing for a while, and then redecorating before I really feel like I nail down what I like for the sim, and then I'm like, okay, now it's perfect, it's chef kiss. But whenever I build a house like from a flat lot and I build the house and then furnish it, I'm never quite happy with it. But I'm getting a lot better, I think. I think the only thing you guys have seen me build from scratch is that like entertainment bar that we built to like do the Starlight Awards at, like the Grammys and the Sims. And I spent a lot of time on that, and I didn't like it when it was finished. And I still hate it, to be honest. Yeah. And I don't know why they call them cozy games. Like, I understand the concept. I think there's actual cozy games out there. Like, oh, what am I thinking of? Is it called Seafarer? Something Fair. That one where you, like, help the souls move on and stuff like that. Or, like, Cult of the Lamb is an actual slime rancher, right? The big name cozy games, Animal Crossing, Sims, nothing is cozy about them. Though I don't know who decided that Sims was a casual, cozy game, because I've actually never met a Sims player that's normal or casual or chill about their Sims game at all. Do you know that one of the one things on this planet that you could do that would make me turn into a serial killer is if you, like, we got into an argument and you went on my computer and deleted my, like, 4-year Sims file? The way that guys have, like, their 2K character that they level up, and, like, their girlfriend will smash their Xbox and destroy the character, and they go ballistic, that's me. Don't touch my Sims game. Don't ever touch my Sims game. I think I genuinely, there's been, when we first started playing Sims on stream, so I have, like, a bunch of characters that I switch between on Sims, where we have, like, we play basically a whole, like, family lineage of, like, aunts, cousins, and they're all mostly related, and I jump between them. I had one Sim who I just resurrected from the dead who needed to get his shit together, Asher. And when I started playing, because I raised Asher from a baby. His mom is a hot mess, and I put him in the foster care system, ruined his life, made him homeless, got him his shit together. Like, he got married, and he had a kid, and he had a farm, and then he got abusive towards his wife, so he died. And I let him die, and then I resurrected him and was like, we're gonna fix this. When I first started playing Asher, you guys were not fucking with him at all. I remember I was like, you guys gotta let him cook, like, he grows on you. And I was, like, so genuinely to my bones those first 2 streams, low-key a little bit irritated. I was like, stop talking about my boy. I know he's an abuser, and he's a womanizer, and he's a piece of shit. But you know what? He's a present father, and he's a genius musician, and he had a hard childhood. Leave him alone. I'm gonna get him together. The thing with Asher is you just can't let him have any free will. I'm gonna control him, and we're gonna get his shit together. We're gonna watch him like a hawk. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was genuinely, like, upset to my soul. I was like, that's my baby son. Stop talking about him. Yeah, he's a piece of shit, but that's my piece of shit. And now, what are we, like, 8 streams into playing Asher, and I switched to another family. Everybody was like, I just want to go back to Asher. This is boring. I went to my well-adjusted. I have another Sim, Peach, who's well-adjusted and had her shit together, and you guys were complaining. They were like, this is boring. All they do is, like, go to work and, like, make money and renovate their house. And I was like, oh, so you guys do like the chaos. You understand now. You get it, huh? Asher really grew on me when his hair did. Yeah. No, that's what I was saying, is that he was like, he used to be my boy, and he's sexy, low-key, but he was going through a divorce, he let himself go, he started beating up his wife, you know what I mean, he's out of shape, you know what I mean, we had to get him back on the straight and narrow. I was like, you guys gotta let me get him together, and then, you know, he lost some weight, he got back to the top of the rock and roll career, he got a new girl, he got some pep in his step, he got a haircut, and y'all were like, oh shit, I see the vision. I was like, yeah, you just gotta let him cook. You gotta let him cook. I was trying to tell you, the blueprint was there. I know what he's capable of. I've seen him in his prime. We just gotta bring him back to that. He's getting to beekeeping age, though. We're gonna figure it out. We will. What I really want to do, that's what I was gonna say, is I want to do a Sim stream after this, but I need to, like, chill. Wouldn't that be crazy if I got off of stream and then did a Sim stream? That would be jam-packed. I really want to, though, to be honest. If not, I could promise to do it, like, after work sometime this week. I could do tomorrow. Sorry, I don't have my music, and it's really, like, it's freaking me out. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for music. I pick up grooming shifts every once in a while. Do I have the spoons for it? I always have spoons for Sims. I need a break in between either way, because I have at least one. I'm looking at my Cameo alerts right now, and I have somebody whose tarot reading is about to expire in 2 hours. So I have to do that and probably another tarot reading and maybe film a TikTok or two. And then take a quick decompression break. So that would be like, what is it now? I'd probably get on at like 9. If I did it. We talked about, I don't want Ariana Grande. Why am I playing this? I still pick up grooming shifts as they come. Sometimes the other groomer, I still work on Sundays, and sometimes the other groomer calls out of work, and I'll take over her shift for that day. So I have a shift coming up on Friday, so I work tomorrow. I could get off of work at 7, get home at 8, and play Sims from like 9:30 to like 12:30. I could do it, but then I gotta be up at 8 in the morning, and I'm not gonna go to bed. But also, like, I know you guys have heard me, because we talk about dog grooming here. I know I've talked about how people think that dog grooming is playing with dogs all day, and if you do have a dog groomer, don't ever say that to them. Don't hit them with the, oh, I wish I had your job. All you get to do is play with puppies all day, because I guarantee you that bitch has been shat on or pissed on by a dog somewhere in the last 2 hours, and they don't want to hear it, or risk their life to put like scissors near the face of a dog that's actually genuinely trying to kill them. That is not a play with puppies all day job. It's not. That's pink collar work if I ever saw one. And it honestly straight up is blue collar, the way you guys need to put your clippers together and do plumbing work and shit like that, and risk your life to like pin down 3. You gotta pin down a fucking German Shepherd that doesn't want its nails clipped. Rough, right? The injury and like body wear on groomers is crazy. Anyways, working at a doggy daycare, being a dog handler is the actual you just play with puppies all day job. I shit you not. All I do is walk around in a circle all day. I scoop poop in the little poop scooper occasionally. I fill up the water bowls. Every once in a while, 2 dogs get too rough and I have to spray them with a water bottle to break them up. And other than that, I just go around and I pick up a puppy and I put him in my lap and carry them around. I literally spent like 2 hours yesterday picking up every single dog in my field and seeing which ones I could lift and which ones I couldn't. I was genuinely walking around picking up German Shepherds, hefting them, rotating in a circle, placing them on furniture, and walking away to find another dog, waging bets with my coworkers of whether or not a dog would let me pick them up. I don't do shit all day. So when I say I have to work, it is not exactly the most strenuous job. I try and not be in a place where like I stayed up so late that I'm like sitting at work with a chihuahua in my lap and I'm like doing this, because it's just not safe. And if that ever happens, because it has happened like once or twice, I just take a 15-minute break, go around the corner, get 3 Red Bulls, chug them, and come back to work. Not a biggie. Always fixes it. So just know that I have to work tomorrow isn't really a valid answer. I'm not doing shit. Annoyingly, I'm not certified to do haircuts yet. Mind you, I used to be a salon manager. I can groom dogs. But they have a current groomer who wants to make sure that I can groom, which I think is asinine, by the way. We're going on a little bit of tangent. Like I said, I worked at a Petco previously. I was trained at that Petco to groom, right? The person that's one of my, like, 4 managers at the doggy daycare was a dog trainer at that Petco where I got trained to groom, which means for the duration, the entirety of me being taught how to groom and the first early months of me grooming, like when I passed the Petco certification and was taking my own clients, he was there and present. He also knows the groomer that trained me to groom, and she's one of the best groomers, like locally, people know her name, like she's like very well known, right? So when I started working here, I was like, it's been a while. I'm a little bit rusty. Don't throw like 6 dogs at me. I got to get a groom kit because I don't have any of my scissors and stuff anymore. But it's like driving a car. If you don't drive for 3 years, you don't like forget how to drive. Do you know what I mean? But you may need a second before you like get on the highway. You know what I mean? Go around the block a couple times, right? So he was like, we need her. She needs to make sure that you can groom. And I was kind of like, are you serious? So I did like a little quick tester groom just to prove that I knew how to do like what we were doing. It was like on an Aussie. So it wasn't like a shave down the body haircut. It was like a trim the dog all over. And honestly, I don't think she liked what I did. We got into like a little disagreement because she was like, you need to make it round, or like she wants it shorter. So the dog is a trim all over. Just like you outline the dog and you shape it. Have you ever seen like Pomeranians? People give Pomeranians haircuts and they like, you know, their hair all sticks out like this. They'll like make it so the dog is like a perfect circle. That's what a trim all over is. It's not like shaving the dog down or like really taking off length. It's shaping it into a nice shape, right? So how can I say this in a way that'll make sense to you? Do you know how, like, black people and white people have different ideas of what hair looks like when it's done? And white people's hair gets greasy. So, culturally, you guys are kind of averse to things like freshly done box braids. Because the way that our hair is sectioned when our hair is first done reminds you guys of the way your hair splits when it's greasy, right? You black people have that thing where we say when white people start complimenting your hair, it means it needs to be redone, because that usually means your hair has grown out enough that you can't see the sections anymore, and it needs to be redone because the seeing your hair being able to split like this, it, like, culturally, it's not even like a racism thing. It's just straight up the culture of the hair. You guys don't like it. Your hair gets oily and it becomes sectioned. So, like, you guys have a cultural aversion in the beauty standard to hair that is sectioned in chunks. Does that make any sense? And then black people also really like their hair really structured and, like, almost unnatural looking is kind of the way that I want to say it. Whereas white people favor, like, your ideal is kind of a look where it looks like you just woke out of bed and got gorgeous. Do you know what I mean? Like, the no makeup, the blowout that kind of just looks like you didn't really do anything to your hair and your hair just looks gorgeous and it naturally, like, sits like that. Cultural things, right? So I'm very, like, I got a foot in each world. I went to private school. I'm not gonna say I'm whitewashed. I'm gonna say that I understand which hat to wear and where to put it on. I want to say I'm like not a delegate, but the diplomat or something between white people and black people. I understand both sides, and I can often see where the miscommunication is happening. So to make it make sense in your words, she was like, you need to round out the dog, and she wanted me to make the dog look like a perfect circle. And I was like, I will make it rounder, but I'm not making that dog look like a circle. Do you know what I mean? And I know I just said the Pomeranians, they make them look like a perfect circle, but that's not exactly what it is. There's a difference between making a dog look like a circle and making it look rounder overall. So she was like, you need to take off more hair. And I would take off a little bit more and then stop. And I think that it gave her the impression that I don't know what I'm doing, when stylistically, as someone who was trained in a white area to groom a lot of white clientele, and a black person, the other groomer who's very enmeshed in black culture, we have different stylistic ideas of what that haircut should look like, right? Which doesn't mean that I can't do it. It meant that I won't do what she's asking because I think that it looks ugly objectively. Does that make any sense? But I didn't say that because I in the moment, I couldn't, like, understand what was going on. Do you know what I mean? I was just doing what I wanted to do. Aussie's not meant to be perfectly round. Thank you. Thank you. So I was, like, making the hair shorter and neater, like, around the butt. And she was like, it's supposed to be like a circle. Like, you want it to look like a butt cheek. And I was like, I'm not doing, you know what I mean? Like, and I would like take off a little bit more. And she's like, more. And as it went on, I could tell she was getting the impression that I didn't have the skills to do what she was asking, when I was like, if an owner asked me to do that, that's what I would give them. Like, I was like, this is a stylistic issue. And I'm not saying that she's a bad groomer and I'm a good one. I'm saying that we have different styles that would suit different clienteles, but her being in charge of approving my grooming skills, I don't felt like it translated well, because she was kind of like, it doesn't look done. And I was like, to you, it looks done to me and the clientele that I used to do. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? So I did that. And then they were like, you're ready to groom, right? So I was like, well, I can do baths. I don't have, like, clippers and shears and stuff yet. I need a couple paychecks to afford to pay for that, right? So my manager was like, okay, well, let me know when you have them and then you can groom. And then I got the stuff and I was like, I'm ready to groom. And he's like, okay, well, now you have to have a trial full body haircut to make sure you can groom. And I was like, this is a little bit asinine because I already did a trim all over with her. And I feel like I was competent, but moreover, you have seen me groom. Like, you know that I'm certified by Petco to groom. Like, this just feels kind of asinine at this point. Like, I was certified to groom for Petco, and then I was promoted to manager. Like, I was so good at my job that they changed the rules for when you could promote somebody to promote me to a leadership position over top of, like, other, you know what I mean? So I was like, this is, like, asinine. So now I have to, like, and then I'm also autistic and I have social anxiety. So I was trying to tell him, I was like, if you make somebody stand behind me and watch me, like, intently while I groom, I'm going to do the worst haircut of my life. That's just the way that it works. Do you know what I mean? When I first got there, they wanted to throw me in the salon, and I was like, I would prefer to not do that. Can I shadow her for a day and see where she keeps stuff, see how the dryers and stuff work? Because I was like, I don't do well in new environments. If you throw me in there by myself and I don't know where the nail clippers are, I don't know how the dryer works, like, you're going to overwhelm me with, like, 6 client dogs. It's just a lot, right? And I feel like I was over listened to the point where they think that I'm incompetent now. When I wasn't going, I don't know how to groom, you have to hold my hand. I was going, I know what I'm doing, but it's been 5 years, so I need you to ease me into it slowly. Like, give me a day or two to sit with her, talk with her, ask her. And it was like, he was like, you just groom. And I was like, no, I need to know about protocol. What do you do when you injure a dog? Do you guys, like, where do you keep the dog? You know, like, it just, like, policy stuff, right? I need to know these things. So I would like to talk to her before I get in. And then when I get in there, don't just throw me, like, don't book me 6 haircut dogs. You're going to make me have a meltdown. Do you know what I mean? I was like, just give me like 1 or 2 and give me like a couple weeks to get used to grooming again. And then I'll be able to take 15 dogs. Like, you know what I mean? So now they're like, oh, we're going to make sure we're going to approve you to do haircuts. And now I'm like annoyed because I feel like I'm being babied. Do you know what I mean? Trying to give you clippers before learning protocol. Yeah. And I worked for Petco. And Petco and PetSmart are the kind of places where, like, dogs have to have water at all times. They always have to be on slip leads. It's very, like, uniform. It's very policy heavy. It's very, like, don't sneeze without authorization. So I was like, where do you, like, they, like, threw me in and I was like, when you do a bath, what is included in your bath package? Is it a nail trim? Is it a nail grind? Do you include teeth brushing, ear cleaning? And he was looking at me like, I don't know. And I was like, this is why I would like to talk to the groomer, because you're going to book me full service baths. And I don't know what the fuck is in a full service bath. Is it a bath and a nail trim? Is it just the bath? Do I need to be, like, does she upcharge if she has to brush out a dog? Does she have the clientele used to that if you have to brush out mats, they get a brushing out fee? Do you use conditioner every single dog? Or are we only adding conditioner as an add-on? And he was like, I don't know the answers to any of these. And I was like, that's why I need to shadow her for a day. You can't just throw me in there. I'm going to fuck up everything. You know what I mean? And that, I had to work so hard to impart into my manager, who doesn't groom and knows nothing about it, how much that was needed, that I think that he ran the other way and was like, oh, you need help and you need your hand held. And I was like, that's not okay. Do you know what I mean? I felt like it was very common sense. He was like, I'm just going to book you. And I was like, you cannot just book me. I need to talk to her about what she's been doing. And then they were like, and then they went and they're like, we're going to have her authorize you for this and authorize you for that. And we're not going to book you for this until, and I was like, okay, whatever. That's not what I said. You like blatantly misconstrued what I told you to do. That's okay. I'm not mad at him. It's just, it hurts my pride a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I'm not the best groomer in the world. I call myself competent. I'm a very competent groomer. I'm not going to send dogs out looking like a chop shop, but I'm not the kind of groomer that, like, did competitions and stuff like that. I know how to do a haircut that, like, it's serviceable. You know what I mean? It's a decently done haircut. Don't come to me with no Asian fusion shit. I can do a standard poodle cut. I know plenty of people that can do a better one. Do you know what I mean? That's where I'm at. So I was like, I don't need to be babied. I know how to groom a dog. I'm going to do dumb shit, like forget to trim a dog's nails. Which I did do because she was watching me. That's also the other thing, is I made a lot of stupid rookie mistakes. I forgot to do a sanitary trim. I trimmed the foot, like the hair on the foot, before I trimmed the nails. But that wasn't because I, like, don't know how to do those things. It's because she was standing right behind me. And, like, she was on her shift, and then they gave me her last dog of the day. And so she could have gone home. But she was standing around waiting for me to finish this dog so she could approve it to go home. And because of that, like, environment, I was rushing and not thinking, because in my own case, you give me 1 or 2 dogs, I have 4 hours to do them, and I'm sitting and I'm able to think. I was rushing, and so I forgot a lot of dumb shit. Yeah. Again. You mess up things you can do perfectly? Yeah. And then I can't be like, oh, you know. And I get it, because they had, I think, 1 or 2 other people that came from other locations that said they used to be bathers, they used to groom, and they didn't know what they were doing. And were, like, actually atrocious at it, and I get that, and I understand it, but I was like, you used to work with me. Do you know what I mean? I know there's a girl that works there still, who's a handler, and she used to bathe, and they had her bathing dogs, and she, like, didn't scrub them properly. She wouldn't wash their faces. She would send them home wet. She was, like, not doing the things she was supposed to do. You know what I mean? She was manhandling the dogs, and I was like, I understand you guys are trying to avoid that, but I worked with him for, like, a year. He, like, you know what I mean? Like, we worked it, like, if I was accumulating write-up after write-up, if I was pissing off, like, people, if you've ever walked into a Petco, do you know what I mean? The way that my Petco was set up, there was, like, a stairwell you would go down to from the front doors. Hold on, let me explain. It's like a stairwell, right? Front counter is right here. Like, it was below ground, so you go down the stairs, the front counter is right here. These are the stairs, front counter. The grooming salon is right here. Right? So you would go down the stairs and immediately turn, and the salon is right here, and it's open. It's just like a counter with a desk at it. It's like a square box around it, like waist high, right? So it's like this. Like, you'd be sitting there like this waiting for people to come in. And I'm looking at the cashiers, right? I can see right across the cashiers. We're making eye contact across each other. So if people were cussing me out, if they were yelling, if they were mad about their dog at pickup or drop off, everybody who worked in that store, who was currently working the register, and you were all off it at the register or billing about the register, would have known that I had a record. Do you know what I mean? Did they let you go? No, I've never been fired in my life. I've never been fired in my life ever. I've never even been. I have been written up once. For bullshit, by the way. And I know that sounds suspicious. The bullshit in question was that I had made, I requested off for a tattoo appointment. I had a friend that I hadn't seen in years that was coming into town, and we were going to see each other for the first time in like 6 years, and we booked a tattoo appointment together, right? And I don't remember what went wrong. I think there was a miscommunication between me and my manager, right? So I usually worked, like, let's say I always work Monday. And I never worked Tuesday. I took off Monday to do the tattoo appointment, for example. Sorry, that was a bad example. I never work Monday. I always work Tuesday. We're going to start all over. So I took off Monday. Wasn't working Monday. I'm confusing myself. Anyways, I took a day off that I usually work, right? So that I could do the appointment, and I picked up a day that I'm not usually working to make up for it, right? Like we swapped a date, right? So I came in on the day that I had picked up a shift that was before my tattoo appointment. And we had miscommunicated, me and my boss, and she was like, I didn't realize you wanted to work this day and you wanted that day off. So I don't have you scheduled, and I still have you scheduled for that day. And I was like, well, I have a tattoo appointment and I already paid a deposit, so I will not be coming in. Can we fix it? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, here's the thing. I'm here right now. If I take my dogs that I called, that you scheduled me on the day I'm not supposed to work, there's very little dogs that day. I'm going to move the dogs you booked for me on to other people because everybody has space. I've cleared my schedule without having to move any of the other appointments, right? There are 4 people here who are all overloaded. I've already talked to a couple groomers here. They have too many dogs. So can I stay here? I've cleared my schedule for the day that I wanted off. There's nothing on me now. I've blocked it off. We've moved everybody, right? I can take 5 or 6 dogs, a full schedule right here, right now, today, and ease everybody else. Put me on the schedule for today like I was supposed to be. I can remove myself from that day, and then we'll be all good. And she, didn't want to let me do it based on principle. She was like, we were supposed to request off. And I was like, we miscommunicated. That's our bad. We will communicate better in the future, but I can fix this so that nothing has to be, messed up. Do you know what I mean? Like you're worried that, you have appointments. I can move those without having to reschedule anybody. Nobody else has dogs that day. I can just move them. There's 2 dogs on me. I moved them. You don't want me here today because you're not scheduled. Everybody here today is overbooked. They would be happy for me to take their dogs. Can we just do this, right? And she was like, no. So then I went above her to the store manager and explained the situation. I was like, I'm not being disrespectful, but she's actually just being stupid. She's being dumb. It would be better if we did it this way. She's just upset because I didn't go about this the right way. So she won't let me do it. And he approved it. He was like, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. That makes perfect sense. And I was like, that's what I thought, right? So then when I came in the next day after that, she had talked with him and she felt like it was insubordination. So then they gave me a write-up. And the write-up was for missing work. Do you know what I mean? He was like, well, because the day of the appointment, the tattoo appointment, as we agreed, I didn't show up. So she wrote me up for failure to show up to work. And I was like, I didn't fail to show up to work. Your boss approved me. You declined it. Your boss approved it, right? I talked to him. He said I didn't have to come in. So I didn't come in. And I wasn't on the schedule. And you retroactively decided that you don't like his ruling and you're trying to write me up. And she was like, you have to sign it. And I was like, no, I don't. I have to sign it. Signing that paper, because I used to be manager, I was like, signing this write-up means that I agree with the reprimand and I admit that I'm wrong. I don't. So you guys are going to have to get HR on me to explain to me how your boss approves something and you get to unapprove it underneath of him. Because they were sleeping together, to make a long story short. Those 2 were sleeping together, and outside of work, she got upset that he went over her head, and they talked about it while I was off the clock, and because she got pissed off, he was like, okay, well, I'll write her up. And then they both agreed to give me a write-up, and I was like, no, because you said it was fine. So now you've entrapped me because you're like, you didn't show up for work when you said that I didn't have to show up for work that day. Just because you now have decided that you shouldn't have said that doesn't mean you can write me up about it. So that's the only reprimand in my entire professional career. That's the only reprimand I've ever been given, and it's not valid because I didn't sign it. to be honest. I was like, no, and I already know, again, I used to be a salon manager, so I was like, I don't approve that write-up, knowing that if I didn't sign it, they had to put it through HR, and they're like, we're gonna have to send it up to HR, and I was like, I would love you to do that. I would actually love for you to explain to HR how this is a valid write-up. And they kicked me out of the office, and then talked to each other for 2 hours, and then decided amongst themselves that they were going to terminate the write-up, and they were like, we're not going to make you sign it. And I was like, yeah, because it would have been, if you had to put that through HR, they would have been like, what the fuck, right? Okay. This is also a very shorthand story about why I don't groom anymore. My first salon, the one that I worked at with the guy that is my current manager, loved it. We were great. That salon and that Petco got, like, the building that we rented it out of, like, that had the Petco, got bought out by a Target. Like, they bought our lease, offered more money to the location for our building, and they were like, oh yeah, you're offering us like 4 times as much money? Yeah, Petco's gone. Target's in. So then they had to liquidate the entire shop and move all the employees. And while they were moving people to other stores, they were like, there's a salon that is missing a manager. You are manager material. Would you like to take this opportunity to take a promotion? Right? So then I took it. So they moved me to another salon, and I took the promotion. I was salon manager, but that salon was awful. It was bad. To make a long story short, everybody in that salon should have been fired, and I had management that was, at Petco, if you get like 3 write-ups for the same exact violation, you can be terminated. It's between 3 or 5. I had people that I had written like 10 or 12 write-ups for the same infraction, and my boss above me would not let me fire them. Wouldn't let me reprimand them, wouldn't even let me cut their hours, right? So I left because I was like, I can't manage like this. Like, you guys suck. Like, you're letting them blatantly break the rules, and then when because I could write write-ups. I was authorized to write write-ups. I couldn't fire anybody. He refused to fire anyone. And when I went over his head to HR, they also backed him up, and I was like, whatever, I'm leaving. So I walked out of that job. And they blew up my phone trying to make me come back, because I was the best employee there, and I was like, nah, you guys fucked up. I've been asking you for like months to like do something. No, I'm not coming back, right? And then I moved to PetSmart, and demoted myself down to a groomer, like a regular groomer, because I was like, I don't want the headache, I just want to groom, I just need to pay my bills, whatever. And then they trapped me in a salon, that salon, the PetSmart salon. They had taken a woman that used to manage a McDonald's, given her about 3 weeks of grooming training, and then put her in charge of a whole salon full of groomers, most of which have been working for most of a decade. And then she started sleeping with the manager, who was married, by the way. And anytime we caught her breaking the rules, breaking policy, endangering people, endangering lives, he would back her up because he was sleeping with her on the down low. And when I say he was sleeping with her, I'm not making up like a scenario. I mean, his literal wife used to call the salon to talk to us, to ask if the manager was there, my manager, the salon manager was there, and if he was at work, because he would tell her that he wasn't, and he would come into work to sleep with her on the clock. Like, they were so sleepy. Like, it was well known and well documented. And I walked out of there eventually too, because that little wench, I literally quit that job because I'm trying to be calm. She personally, individually, with that, the way that she managed her incompetence, she was also a 4'8" tall white woman from Florida who exclusively dated black men and said the N-word. And I had a couple of coworkers. I worked with a Hispanic woman who was like 55 years old, so sweet, probably the most talented groomer I've ever worked in my life, who was like my adopted aunt. She made that woman's life hell, made her cry, and Tammy was the nicest person, one of the nicest people I've ever met. All those things collected burned inside me with a fire so deep that the actual on-paper reason, it wasn't on paper in my heart, why I decided to resign from that place was because I was genuinely getting to a point where I was scared that I was going to be physically violent with her in the workplace. Like, she had pushed my buttons so many times on a personal level that I would walk in. I remember I walked in one day, and she'd already done some fuck shit. She'd done some fuck shit. Like, before I'd even gotten to work, I had gotten phone calls from the type of shit she'd been on that morning with my beloved coworkers. So I walked in with an attitude. Like, I already know what's been going on this morning, and I'm pissed off. I walked in, opened the gate, went in the back to, like, just start my dogs, right? And she, like, was like, hello, Diamond, which is my dead name, my old name. She's like, hello. And I, like, looked at her and, like, did this, and then I went in the back, right? And she followed me into the back, got in front of me, all, like, 4'8" of her got in front of me, was like, I said hello, and I did this, put my hand down, took a 15-minute break, and used the company printer to write up my resignation. I was like, I gotta get out of here. I actually almost put my hands on that woman. She used to talk to me, and I would go in the back to get my dog, and I would just do push-ups in the back to get the adrenaline gone because I wanted to rip her head off of her body. I'm gonna be calm. Because I got banned for talking about somebody else this exact way. But that's the actual reason why I quit grooming, was because that little lady had me so fired up that I thought that I was going to commit the kind of crime that you guys are going to see on national television. Like, I was beginning to understand. I was beginning to understand why we had to do some of the drill training we had to do in the training programs. That's the most I'm going to say. But she really, like, to the bottom of my soul, got under my skin. I remember one time, my then boyfriend would drive me to work, right? Did you still pull cards back then? I did. Not as often. They didn't tell me to hit her. I never asked them, to be fair. My then boyfriend used to drive me to work, and we would often stop to get caffeine in the morning. And I remember one day we'd been rushing out, and I didn't have time to get a cup of coffee, and he was very sweet. He picked me up a coffee, like, like instead. And my boyfriend at the time was like a 6 foot, and he's like 5'10" black man. He was mixed, but he looked like fully black, just a little bit on the lighter side with like locks down to here. And he, like, I came into work, clocked in, got in the back, and then he came up front with my coffee, and I was like, oh, thank you, came out from the back to grab the coffee, kissed him on the cheek and left. I literally turned around, and she, like, looked me up and down, and I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, it was Benjamin. She looked me up and down, I was like, what? And she was like, I'm surprised. And I was like, what? And she was like, I just didn't take you for the kind of person whose boyfriend was going to be black. And I was like, Mindy, you cannot say that to me in a corporate work environment. And she was like, what? And I was like, no, that's like way out of pocket. And she was like, I mean, mind you, she was white and she had like mixed kids. You know what I mean? So it was really, I was like, she was like, we're friends though. And I was like, we're coworkers. Crazy of you to say. And I was trying to be nice by making it like we're in the workplace and we have HR kind of thing. But I was like, in my head, I was like, it is very weird for you of a white man, as a white woman, to think that you have some sort of authority on opinion on what kind of black person I am and what's stereotypical about me. That's actually like an insane thing to fix your mouth to say. Right? And the conversation kept going. And I was like, please stop talking. And she basically insinuated, she was like, well, I know I have like mixed kids. And like, because, you know, I like black men. I just didn't think you were one of those. And I was like, I so rapidly need you to shut your mouth. Like, genuinely, that was one of the many times where I almost put my hands on her, to be quite honest. So I left that job for that reason. It was her. It was her. Purely just because I was afraid I was going to fight in the workplace. We've talked about I have like anger issues, and it's not like it's a threshold. Like a volcano that, like, if it gets to a certain point, I just kind of become quite out of pocket. And she got me pretty far, and I was like, it wasn't even like I want to quit. It was I, for my own safety, cannot work here anymore because I cannot trust my temper around you. Yeah, I don't know either. I have no idea. I'm a little bit older, and I'm not opposed to that kind of workplace banter. If I'm going to be specific, she was white. And that was a huge part of it. Her being a white woman from Florida who was the type that used to have dreadlocks and who dates black men and has mixed kids. Like, that factored into it. But also, like, the third portion of that is that we simply were not cool like that. Do you know what I mean? In my current work job, the manager that I said that I've known for years, he found out that I was dating somebody. And he was like, I didn't know you had a boyfriend. And I was like, you've never known me to not have a boyfriend. There's one thing, I do be dating. I was like, I've never been single. And he was like, not that you've known me. And he was like, true. And he like leaned in and he was like, is he white? And I laughed and I was like, yeah. And he was like, I knew it. And I was like, no, you didn't know it because my boyfriends aren't always white. But that's high key funny. Completely different vibe because I actually fuck with him like that and he knows that. There's nothing that man can say to really irritate me or get under my skin. And I've known him for over a decade. Do you know what I mean? And he's also black. It was a genuinely funny moment. It was that, and she crossed the line. And then when I was like, oh, whoa, Nelly, she was like, yo, but we're homegirls. And I was like, I don't know what I ever did to make you think that we were friends. Because we're not. We're super not. Or do the people having mixed kids accused for being racist? I would argue that that the mixed kids are often the proof of the racism. have we talked about, people say, red, black, yellow, friendly fellow, yellow, red, black, stay back. Black women with white men, safe space, generally pretty chill. The reverse, not good. Never good, actually. Can't think of a good outcome. And I'm not trying to be mean. I do mean it from like a socioeconomic standard. We have like the root of racism is black men as these like sexual, hypermasculine beings, almost like beasts and animals. Like for a certain portion of like human history, liking black men would put you in the monster fucker category. Like that's kind of what I'm alluding to, of this idea of like they're savage and they're sexually potent, right? So if a woman is attracted to men, they have like this secret longing for the animalistic like black man, right? And then you have white women being toted up as damsels, as the prize, as if you have a white blonde woman on your arm, you've made it, and you've like, you've won society. They're the epitome of femininity, right? And then white women want to get with white men because they like, that's the status symbol, but they have this secret desire for like black men and what they bring to the bedroom. So just speaking specifically socioculturally, in my opinion, when you have, unless they've done a lot of work on themselves, and in that couple pairing, there is zero incentive to do any work because the work has to be done for the couple to work. In that specific pairing of white woman and black man, you are feeding into, relaxing, and inviting in the cultural sub-stereotypes as the basis for the relationship. They're basically lapping up the dog water of white supremacy. Like when you unpack what's going on there, you may out there, I'm sure there is like really chill. There are like leftist black men and leftist white women that are together and they make functional couples, but it's not the rule. And it's pretty safe to assume it's almost kind of like when people say like, oh, I don't like dislike this race. I'm not racist. I just have a preference for dating white people. But it's like you have to unpack where that preference comes from. And I do fear that black men who go after white women, regardless of whether there's a preference, there is a racial, cultural underpinning to that preference that can't be ignored. If you happen to find a black man that has dated a lot of people of multiple races, like you've seen him, he's dated Hispanic girls, he's dated, black women have to be a significant part of that list and not a throwaway. It can't be he's dated Latinas and Greek women and Jewish women and white women. It has to be like he's dated black women, dark skinned black women have to be made up in that soup in a significant manner. And he just so happens at the time to be dating a white woman, and he maybe keeps a very multicultural friend group. Again, a portion of that does also have to be black. He cannot just be the one white man in a group of like the one black man in a group of white frat boys. There's a certain scenario, and you'll know it when you see it, when it's fine and their races just happen to be happenstance. 99% of the time, it's dog water. It's dog ass shit, and it's not going anywhere good, right? White men with black women, because of the white men cultural like center point being, I want to attain a fair-skinned, fair-haired white woman and have children, and that's what's seen as like ideal. I would say like sleeping with black women doesn't count because we're over-sexualized, but settling down into a serious relationship and marriage with a black woman for a white man requires inner work to have already been done. You are already defying the social stereotype, and then black women being loved and catered to and seen as the feminine aspect of a relationship when we are often not considered as long-term serious partners, not the people settle down to have families with, not allowed to be in feminine energy, seen as too masculine. If you see a black woman, white man pairing, the black woman has already done a healthy amount of work on herself to allow herself to be feminine despite it all, and the man has unpacked a certain amount of white supremacy for that to even touch their doorstep. Does that make any sense? I'm not saying that all those relationships are perfect. I'm just saying they're not inherently rancidly toxic. Do you know what I mean? There's something there, and I'm, again, as someone who's dated a lot of white people, it has to go to a certain point. You have to be like introduced to the family. You have to be invited into the friend group. You have to have a relationship with the title. You have to have talked about and seriously like been pacing your relationship towards marriage and kids. treated with respect in that regard. I would argue that something as simple as like you dating a white man, being in a serious relationship, but he's very comfortable impregnating you with his children without a ring on your finger, you're also like in the danger zone. Do you know what I mean? But if you are courted and treated in the same fashion as he would date any other woman, and you happen to be black, it's almost, I wouldn't say it's a green flag. I would say that it's like a lime flag of like, looks good, proceed with caution. Do you know what I mean? Which is a topic that I'm very passionate about, because I as someone who's black, who dates all around the board, but as a leftist and pansexual person, I do find that white people with me really hating liberals and conservatives and like deeply religious people, and also like my sexuality and being like trans myself on the board, my dating pool does mostly consist of white people, just off the strength of homophobia, to be quite honest. I get accused of piggy dipping in a piggy pond that makes me fundamentally anti-black just because of the people that I date, and it really burns my buns, because my like intermingling is not the same as the snow bunny black men intermingling. They're not even in the same category. It might as well be a completely different thing. Do you know what I mean? We're not, because I know a lot of black people, their experience is often black men who really want white women, and they project that onto me, and I'm like, it's different in the way that like gay men and their culture and trans lesbians and their culture are different. Just because it looks the same doesn't mean they have anything to do with each other. They're not. You don't know what you're talking about. But I get very frustrated with it. Have you guys seen, actually, to make a really great point, I know we've been having the debate online. I hope you haven't seen it, because if you do, I feel so bad for you, of bisexual people finally like pointing out that a lot of straight people are wildly biphobic. Especially like black people are wildly biphobic and fundamentally will not date a bisexual person. That discourse and the way that it's gone, especially among black cis het women, is like, I love dying on a hill and then sitting and letting it cook, and then 4 years later somebody has the exact argument that I just tried to say. I've been saying for years that a lot of the reason why I date a lot of like non-black people is because the biphobia in the black community is insane, and the transphobia is insane, even in the leftist circles. It's not leftist. Yeah, actually, no, I will say leftist. It's insane, like really, really bad, and I just cannot be openly non-binary and bisexual or pansexual in a relationship and feel comfortable. So I don't. And it's safe for me to assume that if they're black, they're very homophobic, and I feel quite comfortable in that in most cases. And often when they're not, they're already taken, or they're not like remotely in, like, you know, or we have very different interests, and for other reasons that we're just not a compatible couple, right? Very rare, where it's like needle in a haystack type of shit. Watching that debate play out, I was sitting back like, and people are like, I can't believe you bitches are not only biphobic, you're using racist like structure of like, you guys see people like, hey, if you like men and you won't date a bisexual man, you're homophobic. That's high key homophobic. And the response is being, why are you forcing us to sleep with bisexual men? I don't have to sleep with anybody that I don't want to. Everybody knows that bisexual men are basically gay, right? If men already cheat, and if I'm dating a bisexual, they have twice the opportunity to cheat. Pulling from the white supremacist playbook with the words change, crazy. My eyebrows went up, and I was like, I fucking told you so. You guys see what I've been dealing with? I don't want to hear it when somebody's like, why don't you find yourself a nice, fine black man? The literal, as soon as like 2 months ago, I told black people that I really like and enjoy, like people that I get along with, that I was bi, and I prefer dating bi people, and across the board, I got 4 variations of that's crazy, could never be me. Everybody knows that bi men are just gay. And I was like, no, they're not. They have different words for a reason. And I was like, no, but you know that if you take it up the butt, you're by default gay. And I was like, this is like an ignorant conversation. And then I got one, like, oh, there was one person, it was a coworker actually. If I could be really messy, it's the groomer that I work with. And this was after like we did the thing. And she's really nice and I like her as a coworker. I have a very solid split between like, largely basically in the workplace, if you are a good employee and you're like nice to me and we get along well and you're a team player and you pull your weight, I don't give a shit. Like I really like when I close the door on my workplace, what happens in there and what happens outside I'm going to be nice and cordial and a team player to everybody. where you'll know if I give a shit about you is if you can get a hold of me outside of work. Does that make any sense? So I still am like nice to this girl. I still like treat her with respect. I go out of my way to make sure she has the shit that she needs. I, very courteous to her, right? But she like turned around and she was like, I just like think that trans people are mentally ill. And she was like, and I think that like childbirth and like having your period are things that belong to women and they'll never experience that, so they don't get to claim the title. And I was like, I don't really like honestly care what you believe because you're allowed to have your beliefs, but like from a like logical perspective, there's women that don't have periods, like cis women that don't have periods, and there's cis women that like can't have babies. And if that's what you're saying is the line for like you're not a woman, then I are you also okay with agreeing that a lot of like biological women aren't women either? And she was like, no, it's different. And I was like, it's not, because I was like, you just said that the reason why you don't think that trans women are valid women is because womanhood, we all experience childbirth and we all have periods, so therefore they'll never know that. And there's women that don't have childbirth or periods. And she was like, no, there isn't. And I was like, you're being facetious. We all know that like there are women that are infertile. Like that's like a fact. And I was like, and I hate to like really like give you information you don't know, but it's also a common symptom of women going on like, she was like, well, we all have periods. And I was like, not true. But even if that was true, a common symptom of going on estrogen is to have like, the symptoms of periods without actual periods, so like ghost cramps and things like that. So if that's your metric, that if like they haven't experienced cramps, they're not a real woman. Tons of trans women have also experienced cramps as a result of estrogen. And I was like, there's also, she was like, well, they don't have to take hormones. And I was like, well, there's also a lot of cis women that have to take hormones for various reasons. So if that's your line too, I was like, I'm open to, like, you're allowed to have your opinion. And if your like ideological line of a woman is like these things, you can say that, but that isn't a category that only excludes trans women. You would also be drawing the line in the sand that a lot of biological women aren't women by your definition as well. And she literally just got up and walked out of the room because I was making her upset. I wasn't upset. I was like activated because we were having a debate. I was like activated, like up and aware, but I wasn't upset. And she literally like walked out and I was like, okay, this has been fun, you guys. And then afterwards, like some of the coworkers were like, I hope we didn't upset you. And I was like, you didn't upset me. If you guys want to be ignorant, that's your own like bread and butter. I don't care. But they were like, we don't want to make you feel unsafe. And I was like, this workplace is like 90% black people. Crazy of you guys to think that when I accepted a job here, I didn't expect that to be all of your opinions. And then they got mad because they were like, well, there's a lot of people that are like LGBT. And I was like, yeah, but let's just be real. I was like, you guys cannot talk me down for being trans and non-binary and queer and coming into this workplace and saying, I know my people, I knew what your reactions were going to be, and I agreed to the job, and I'm not surprised by this. When I just told you guys that I was non-binary, and you guys had the textbook reaction that I said you were going to have. What are we, you know what I mean? Again, you are cool to be homophobic, but you can't bulk at the homophobia. Do you know, if you have an issue with the fact that you're homophobic, be less homophobic. You don't get to say the stuff and then not, right? And they were like, you can't say that all black people are homophobic. And I was like, I didn't say all, I said most. And, there's like 12 of you here and you all just said the same thing. And I know for a fact that only 2 of you in here are cool. Because I've talked to all of you about this topic. 10 out of 12 is most. That's about the number distribution I always deal with. What are we talking about? And then they were like, well, you don't even hang out with a lot of black people. And I was like, do you ever think about the reason? Is because every time I try, this is what happens? Do I have to hang out with homophobes? I don't hate you guys. I love you guys. You know what I mean? Martin Luther King Jr., all that, free my people, but also free my people from the shackles of compulsory cis heterosexualism. Come on. I love y'all. No, you can't come to my house and hang out with my friends because y'all don't know how to act. When you do, I would love to have you here. In fact, if all of you got it together, I wouldn't hang out with anybody else. But we got to be realistic. It is not fair of you to expect me to encapsulate multiple identities and tolerate core disrespect of every other value that I have as a person, every other category I fit in at the expense of blackness, because you're low-key anti-black, to be honest, because I've also had to endure a lot of comments about my body and how I'm not the beauty standard. I've had to endure a lot of that over the years, and it works. Our beauty standard is completely different. You guys don't know this, like black people like their females a little bit on the chunkier side. Like what white people consider like obese is like the minimum of what you're supposed to be when you're black. I was like, so you guys body shame me. You're transphobic, you're homophobic, you're very unaccepting of my interests. I get my interests called white and non-black all the time, and nine times out of 10, it's an interest that is actually core invented by black people, either Africans or original, like developed by slaves from Africa as they were, built into America and like integrated into it. And then it was stolen and co-opted by white people. So I'm co-opting it back, and then I'm called white for liking a certain genre of music or a certain like aspect of something that was ours and then it got stolen, right? Or you guys are what was the other one that I was thinking of? Oh, and they're very anti-mental illness. Do you know how many times I've tried to like tell somebody that I know in my family that I'm like, I did like, because this coworker has known me for like 10 years, like I said, and we worked together for a couple, and then I went off the map for a few, and then I would say like the last 5 years have been me like getting my mental health together. And he did like get on me because he like found out, he's like, you still live with your mom? And he was like, you need to grow up. And I was like, well, it's not like, I was like, when I met you, I had my own apartment. Like, most of the time that you've known me, I've had my own apartment and I've paid my own bills. For a chunk of the time you knew me, I was paying my bills and 3 other unrelated people's bills because I made so much money and they wouldn't have been able to afford the place we were living in without me. You know what I mean? I was like, but I had mental illness that I had to attend to, emergency style. So I moved back in with my family because I had to choose between keeping that lifestyle or risking like unaliving myself, and I didn't want to risk it, so I needed the support back. And he, like, his bald-faced reply was like, I don't believe in mental illness. And I was like, that's okay, you don't have to. Do you know what I mean? And then there was another person in my work where I was trying to explain how I was doing something with them, and they're one of the ones that are queer and cool. Thank you. I did it myself. All the top is mine, and then all of this is like extensions of my actual hair. And since they're queer and I already knew that they were like cool with that stuff, I got a little bit comfortable, and I like wasn't thinking about what I was saying, and we were doing something, and I was like explaining, I was like, oh yeah, I have OCD, so that's like kind of difficult for me. And she was like, oh, I think we're all a little bit OCD. She was like, I like to rearrange stuff like alphabetically sometimes too. And I like, you could have seen the steam coming out of my ears, because I'm not even like organized things OCD. I'm like thought rumination OCD. I'm like morality, like rumination OCD. Like putting patterns to things that don't actually make sense. So I was like, no, you're not. You're not. You're not. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to explain that you're not. I think it was something about me explaining like how I had contamination OCD, and I was like, so I was telling her about my dog like having a UTI, and I was like, I have contamination OCD, and one of the issues that I had with Possum having a UTI was that she was peeing everywhere, and I was unable to like exist in my space. I had to wear like double and triple layers of socks with shoes because I could feel like it was seeping through my feet. No matter how many times I cleaned the carpet, I never felt like it was clean enough. I spent a lot of my day like on my hands and knees, pressing my nose to the carpet to see if I could still smell piss, and then going over the same spot multiple times in my vacuum. And I was genuinely concerned that it wasn't a UTI, that she had some sort of long-term bladder issue, or she was becoming incontinent because of her old age. And that was going to break my heart, because I believe in responsible dog ownership before my mental health. If she was becoming incontinent and was becoming the kind of dog that was going to have to wear diapers, I was going to have to take her back to her breeder and relinquish ownership of her, because I can't live like that, because my OCD would have made it unfeasible for me to exist in that space. And she was like, oh yeah, I understand you, because I have OCD. Like, everybody's a little bit OCD. I was like, you're not listening. You don't actually understand. You don't understand. You're actually, it's not like, oh, nobody likes living in a house with pee in their carpet. It would have disturbed the foundational piece of my soul for every waking moment, and my day would have revolved around cleaning my carpets over top of eating and sleeping. Do you know what I mean? You don't have what I have. It's actually very normal to not like pee on your carpets. What I have is a completely separate thing. Contamination OCD. There's actually a lot of subgroups of OCD, and I suggest looking into them, because I think OCD is among like next to autism, it's one of the most underdiagnosed things I think humanly possible, because people only know if things aren't arranged the way I want them to be, I have a mental breakdown OCD, and then people kind of know about the very severe OCD where people like, I have to touch a doorknob 4 times before I go outside. And it's gotten so bad that I just get stuck tapping my doorknob 4 times,
and then I start to walk away and I go back and I tap it again, and like the people that you see on documentaries about OCD, and they know that severity where they can't even get anything done because of it. But the fundamental root of OCD is like overthinking, if that makes any sense. So you ever like how can I explain this? You ever like change your toilet paper roll, for example, in your bathroom. Like you change the toilet paper, right? And then you leave the bathroom and you're thinking like, did I actually change the toilet paper roll, or did I just walk in there and just like grab something? Like I don't remember what I did in there, right? So then you go back and you check the roll, right? And you're like, okay, I did, right? Every mental illness is something the brain does naturally, normally, sometimes even when it's like detrimental. When it becomes diagnosable is when it is beginning to disrupt your quality of life. So somebody with OCD has that capability, but if you were to like think like, did I change the toilet paper roll, right? You might not go back in the room and check to see if you put the toilet paper roll on, and instead you'll go to work, and 4 hours later, like every 7th or 8th thought in your head will be, what if I didn't change the toilet roll? I probably should use a different example to something like switching the lights off in your house, or like, did I turn the oven off? But it's like, you can't sleep. You are not well. You actually are dramatically stressed out by this, and to the point where the only way you'll be able to calm down is like maybe if you call somebody at work and at your house and ask them like, hey, can you like check and make sure that I turn the stove off? And again, doing that every once in a while is not a big deal. If it's an everyday occurrence, it's, you know what I mean? It's like, how much of your time do you occupy doing that? How often do you do something, watch yourself do something, set an alarm for it, and then like, even though you just looked at it and you have a picture on your phone, you did it, you're like, oh, like 20 minutes later, you're like, but what if I just imagined it? It's like overthinking. It's like, and fun, the way I can describe OCD, it's like you feel like you fundamentally can't trust your own brain, right? So I'll do something, I'll watch myself do something, like I'll watch myself put something away, I'll take 2 steps away, and then my next thought is, what if I just hallucinating myself doing that? What if I'm actually in a hospital, hooked up to machines, and I'm in a looping dream, and I didn't actually put that thing away? I just keep repeatedly hallucinating that I'm doing it. And that is not a normal way to think. It's not. That's OCD. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it filters into other things. Oftentimes, I was explaining to Moldy, I can be very strict with not allowing people in my personal circle that have bad behaviors, that have poor boundaries, that violate my time, that like I feel are rude or whatnot. And it's partially because that's unhealthy to be around. You don't want people to disrespect you in your life. But the other part of it is that I have OCD. I don't remember the exact word for it. I call it morality OCD, mostly because I forget the term for it, where if I'm around somebody who's like, for example, like disrespectful, like they just say lots of crazy things. Actually, I'll give you a real example. I recently disconnected from somebody in my life that was blowing up my phone to an insane degree. And I mean, I was getting 18 missed calls from this person every day. I would pick up the phone, I would talk to them for like an hour and a half. They would say, okay, goodbye, you know, nice talking to you. They would hang up the phone, and then 30 minutes later, they would call me again. And that would repeat, and every single time I didn't answer the phone, when I did answer it, they would need an explanation of why I didn't answer the phone, right? And I am somebody, I'm in a long distance relationship. I call my partner on the phone all the time. And I have rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I have anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety, relationship anxiety. So I'm already the kind of person, if I'm talking with my partner on the phone and he abruptly is like, I don't want to talk anymore, I want to go, I will be like, okay, cool, but I'm going to hang up the phone and be like, are you mad at me? Do you know what I mean? Like, even if it's just like, I just don't want to talk to you. I need to hear the confirmation. I'm worried about it, right? I always worry that he doesn't really want to talk to me. He just feels obligated, right? Having somebody in my life that I was talking to out of obligation, where I dreaded every single time they answered, my phone rang and their name popped up, started to make it impossible for me to make phone calls in my own life, because I was convinced that I do this. Like, I'm like, this must be how I come off to other people, and I'm actually secretly a narcissist, and I'm being confronted with the empathy of realizing what I do to other people by experiencing it through somebody else, and I'm not listening to the wake-up call. Anytime it would be like, well, your friends love you, they love to hear with you, I'm like, that's exactly what my brain would tell me if I was a narcissist who doesn't want to like have their ego hurt by admitting that they're flawed. So really, I just need to like use this moment to think about that, how many people in my life make me feel like this, and I should probably talk to all of my friends less, and I should like monitor where I am on the phone, and I should check in with them when I am talking and make sure they still want to talk to you, which doesn't help, because even when they're like, I still want to talk to you, my OCD will tell me, well, they didn't mean it, and then I have to hear it 8 more times and ask the same question. Or if I say, do you mind are you upset talking with me? And they don't go, no, I am not upset. If they phrase it any other way, my OCD will like be like, well, they didn't say it exactly, so they didn't mean it. It was triggering my morality OCD to the point where I could not have healthy relationships with the people in my life, because all I was thinking is that this person is behaving badly, and my OCD latched onto it and was around the clock telling me, this, the way that you feel right now about this person is the way everybody in your life feels about you, and you need to like work on yourself. Right? So when you see me, and it is, I think, to a certain degree healthy to not be around people like that. Like, obviously that person was disrespectful of my time and stuff like that. But when you see me have like aggressive reactions to like, I saw certain behavior and I had to go, it is the root of it for me is often I can feel it triggering my OCD. And even if it's like, that person was annoying and I could have just I could have just not blocked their phone, or I could have just not picked up the phone. Do you know what I mean? I could have just like, done around it, but being in the presence or having somebody in my life that has bad behaviors makes my OCD start a dialogue where it tells me that's actually just exactly how you act. You do this to everybody. You do this to everybody. Everybody feels this way about you. I don't know why that is. That's why I only have 2 friends, because I have a very low tolerance for like aberrant behavior in people. I can't just find something annoying and deal with it in a person. It immediately becomes, actually, you probably do this too, and you're just in denial about it. Do you know what I mean? Does that make any sense? And that is OCD. That's obsessive compulsive disorder. That is the obsessive rumination of thoughts that do not make sense and are not based in reality. That even when I have empirical proof, even when the people around me reach out to me, because if they didn't hate me, they wouldn't reach out to me. Even when I am reassured that they care about me, even when I know, like, I could think about like structurally the way that I talk to people and how I'm respectful of my friends' time. I can even go, I've never called somebody 18 times back to back. Doesn't matter. The first time my boyfriend doesn't pick up the phone and it's time sensitive and I have to call him a second time, I'm already like, you're acting just like that person. See, you just convinced yourself yesterday that this had nothing to do with you, and here you are calling somebody twice when they've made it clear they didn't answer the first time. Now you're even worse person because you just lied to yourself about how you don't do that, and now you're doing something that's basically exactly the same as it. It literally makes every moment that I am awake and conscious a living fucking hell for me. Does that make any sense? It's bad juju. And I think it's like, I would hope that you guys would hear this and be surprised that my brain is like this all the time, because I really cannot like express how much when I say I took 5 years off of my life, which you guys wouldn't have noticed because that was mostly me doing tarot, because it was one of the only jobs that I have that doesn't make me feel like that. It puts a band-aid on it. It quiets my brain down. There's a lot going on up there. And I can't fix most of it. I manage it. And I spent those years figuring out how to manage my brain while also learning how to take care of myself as a human being, get what I need to get done, deal with situations without ignoring my brain chemistry, finding the workaround. The same way that somebody with like a leg disability maybe can't walk a certain distance, but they'll have to find an alternative. I need to go there. I can't walk there. Let me get an Uber. Let me get a friend to drive me, right? I basically had what is like the mental illness equivalent of like a leg injury, and I was in denial about my leg injury, and I was constantly like hiking places, breaking my legs, causing muscle pain, having to go in the hospital, have surgery. I had to learn about each individual leg injury I had, for lack of a better metaphor, and figure out a better method to approach it. Do I need to take an Uber? Do I need to ask for a ride? When I feel this way, what do I do? Because the neurotypical way to do it usually doesn't work for me. And I had to spend years just accumulating alternate accessibility methods for me to do things that worked for me until they were autopilot and I could function as a person. I think I get written up by people as someone who's a little bit quirky and is very stubborn about my quirks. Like, I will insist that something has to be done a specific way, and I will not do it the way that you ask. Weird things like, when I open Red Bull cans, you guys have maybe seen this. When I open Red Bull cans, you know how normally you do this and you like flick it open, right? The open a can. Oftentimes when I'm on stream, I do this and I open it that way, and a lot of people get mad at me about that. I have an irrational fear of ripping my fingernails off, and any pressure on my nails activates that phobia for me. So the reason why I don't use my nails and I use my mouth to open things is because, like, it's the way that I can open cans without having a panic attack. Does that make any sense? So then, like, in practice, I'm somebody who, like, will walk around and open cans like that, and then people who just met me, or my coworkers, or sometimes my family members would be like, you're gonna ruin your teeth, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, that's the way that I open cans, not interested in your input. But the reason why I'm like that is because I know why I do it. And I have, like, 8,000 things that I do that way that I'm not open to discussing, because the reason why I do it that way is because I tried every other possible way, and that was the only way to do it that didn't activate my mental illness. Does that make any sense? I should get one of those can tap thingies. That's on my to-do list. I want to get one eventually. I always forget about it when I have money, and then when I don't have money, I remember that I need one. But also, the teeth work fine. It takes like 10 seconds, to be honest. I can use the side of my finger sometimes. It depends on the length of my nail. When I had the really long nails, I had to, like, use my mouth, and now it's kind of a habit. Also, we talked a little. I still haven't done this hair reading. I'm so sorry. You guys expect this. The end point of that story, like, life update. I have a job now with doggy daycare. I got my driver's license. If you missed that in all the hullabaloo, I got my driver's license, which was easy, and it was a no-brainer because I've been driving. Like I said, I used to date somebody in Kentucky. It's a 10-hour drive. I've been doing that. I've done that 10. I can drive a car, like, quite comfortably. And I learned how to drive manual. So I want to show you guys a picture of it. I don't know if I can, like, if I can pull it up. I'll show you my new car. She's really cute. Hold on. I'll see if I can find one that looks like, hold on. I'll see if I can find it. Hold on. You'll like it. I just gotta find one, Is that how you make it bigger? Yeah. Oh, this is almost exactly it. This is my car. Except for mine has a giant black stripe down the middle. Like a racing stripe on the front hood. I'll see if I can find a better one, because I don't think that's quite the same model. Mine's kind of old. It's 2013. Hold on. I'll find it. I have pictures on my phone, but obviously I'm using my phone. And it's a canvas top. Interestingly, I'm not seeing a lot of ones that have the stripe down the middle, which is fascinating to me. This is basically what it looks like. Basically, with the top up. Again, mine has a giant red stripe down the middle. Like right on the, black stripe, like right down the front hood. It's got a black stripe, and then it has two little, like, circle things with X's in it that are attached to the dash. Like, I don't know what they are. I've never seen them before. I don't know how to get them off or adjust them, but they're on there. It is very me. Thank you. I didn't want it, just so you know. I, like, not to be, like, humble. I really wanted another Toyota Camry, because I wanted something that I could drive into the dust and not think twice about. So now I become one of those people that washes my car. I, like, take it to the shop regularly. I'm doing all the neurotypical stuff, man. I actually have it needs a new temperature gauge, so I have a new one. Yeah, learning manual was rough. That was a rough week. And it wasn't, it took me, like, months to learn it, but I would say there was maybe a week of consecutive driving. It was like I would drive one day and then not get in the car for another 3 weeks, and then drive it once for, like, an hour. But I'm enjoying it. I'm getting, I don't put the top down very often. I've been trying it a lot this week because I have social anxiety, so I'm, like, not, like, good with, I always feel like people are gonna watch me. I have social anxiety. I, for some reason, am, like, really scared that somebody's gonna, like, shoot me in the head or, like, throw something at me out their car window because I have my top down. I don't like the attention. And then I've also gotten really into listening to audiobooks lately instead of, like, music. And I don't want to be reading medieval fantasy, clean medieval fantasy. I'm not really a like, spicy book talk person, but, like, standard medieval, like, fantasy, like, picture, like, Game of Thrones, like, type of books, and I'm, like, at a stoplight, and all they hear is, Sir Grenadine of Queensmire, cleave the ox's head off in one fatal swing. I just feel, I feel weird about it because usually when my top is up, I'm blasting that shit at maximum volume, till the car vibrates. Because I like to listen to my stories while I drive. It's also got a really loud speaker. So I got my shit together. I'd show you guys. You guys want to see my driver license? It's okay. Hold on. I'll cover my, oh, no, never mind. I don't feel like getting it. It's all the way over there. I was going to say I'll cover my address. But I have a license now. Mind you, I always had a permit. Let it be known, I always had a permit. And also, on top of everything, I did plan this year to get my, driver's license anyways. So, being told that I had to get one in order to drive the coupe was not a big deal to me, if that makes any sense. Like, it was like, I didn't like it being held over my head, as in, like, we're not going to let you drive this car until you get a license, because I was going to do it anyways. But it's fine, to be honest. I didn't want to drive that car without a license much anyways, because you can see it attracts a lot of attention. You can imagine driving that with the top down, and I live in, like, the country, right? So everybody here has, like, pickup trucks or normal cars. There's a fair amount of Teslas. It's just, like, not a car that you see often. It catches the eye, especially when the convertible top is down. So I didn't want to be driving without a license because I feel like I was going to be a hot button for every single cop in the area. We're going to actually do some tarot. I swear to God in Mother's name that I'm going to shut up. I think I've gotten a lot better at yapping and not, getting in trouble with the algorithm. I've cleaned up my act. Tarots. Yeah, I know, right? I am going to annoyingly reshuffle my cards. Because I find that if I do a reading, if I shuffle cards and put them out, and then I, like, talk for a really long time about unrelated things, and I do the reading, it's always just, like, another variation of whatever I was just talking about. Anyways, and that irritates me. Ugh. That's why I don't like rich-looking things flashy. Yeah. Let's do another talk. I'm actually out of dog information. I do agree that it fits me really well. Funnily enough, I got a new phone and all this hullabaloo too. I got a new phone, and that buzzing in the background of my videos sometimes that was, we have a doorbell, and it's the top floor doorbell, but the bottom floor doorbell, but I also live on the top floor, so I have my own bell chime up here, so that if I'm up here and somebody rings the main door on the regular floor, it chimes up here specifically as well. There's like an electrical short in them, so it's like permanently ringing, but it sounds kind of like a since I moved in here, it's been going on. Nobody gave a shit about it. And it got really, really loud. I want to say around like February or March, like obscenely loud, where you could hear it on my videos. My old phone also started like get a little bit crispy, so I finally upgraded to a new phone, which I know we're not, I understand about Sudan. I work off of my phone, and my phone was getting real janky, and I would not be able to do tarot readings or live streams. Like I held out for as long as I possibly could. I think I was working with like a phone from like I had that phone since lockdown, basically since COVID. And I finally upgraded to a new phone, and the newer speakers picked up the buzzing sound way better than before, and it drove me crazy. So we finally got that fixed. I had another point that I was gonna make with that, and I can't remember what I was doing. So I got a new phone, and I was trying to get, I don't remember what color I was trying to get, maybe blue. New iPhones come in multiple colors. Basically, there was a miscommunication. I ordered the wrong color, and instead ordered this, like, the orange one, right? Like, it's, like, reddish orange, and didn't really, like, I was gonna exchange it. I tried to cancel, like, the second I sent the order, I was like, hey, sorry, my bad, wrong color, and they were like, nope, we've already put it in. Best you could do is, like, get the phone and then drive it once it arrives, like, drive it to wherever and like get it exchanged. I don't remember who I have, Verizon, AT&T, and get it exchanged for another one. I didn't have a car at the time either, so I was like, I'll do that. I'll figure out, I'll get a ride from somewhere. And then it came, and I opened it, and I was like, it's not even that bad, I'll keep it. And then like about 3 days after that, my mom pulled up with the Mini Coupe that she'd been talking about, that she was like, I want you to look at this car. And it was almost the exact same color as my phone, which I had learned to love, and I saw it as a sign. I was like, yeah, I'll keep the car. In addition to her taking so long to get me that car to like settle on something that she thought that I like, you know, and actually move it over. And me not wanting to go through that process again since it took so long the first time, I was also like, I'll take it as a sign. I also skipped in my story that there was a, for a while, she dropped the Mini Coupe off, and it was on our lot. Nobody would help me learn how to drive it. It didn't have tags, because the dealer took the tags. He wouldn't give us the dealer tags back. My mom couldn't put tags on it for some miscellaneous reason. There was just a lot. There was also a whole like month and a half where it was like the car didn't have tags. You know, my mom wouldn't get the tags renewed. Every time she went to the DMV, there was another thing that she had to do and another thing. And then she was just like not really giving a shit about getting it done. So for a while I was sitting with the license with the drivable car in the driveway and no ability to drive it because it was uninsured and it didn't have a tag. And the person that was in charge of those things and wouldn't give me the paperwork to do it myself would literally just be like, I'll do it tomorrow. And then we wake up and be like, I didn't feel like it. I'll do it tomorrow. And then she wouldn't do it again. And she'd be like, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. And then when after like a week, I was like, hey, can you like fucking do something? Then I was like, don't rush me. Like, that's what I was dealing with. When I keep telling you guys this year tried to kill me, I really fundamentally mean it. I was going through it. Just know that if I had all the paperwork for all this stuff in my name, my car would have been crashed in January, and by March at the latest, I would have had a new car, and it would have been road ready, and we would have been back. And March is me being like really, really like sluggish about it. Okay, I'll actually pull tarot cards. I swear to God, I will. Also, I can also hear electricity buzzing, but this wasn't like a piece some people can hear electricity thing, just to specify. It was an audible buzz. Like, it was zzz. I've had multiple people come up here and been like, yo, okay, have you ever seen the videos in Palestine where they talk about how the drones are always going and there's like background noise? And you've seen those videos and heard the background noise. That's what my room sounded like. It wasn't like a low electrical hum. It was an actual audible 24/7 around the clock buzz, like at that volume level. It's a 1-for-1 ratio. I don't think it's as loud as the buzz is in Palestine, but it's as loud as you can hear it from your phone when you watch the videos. That's the volume it was that I've been dealing with that for the last 5 years. Every once in a while, like I want to say every 3 days or so, it would cut off for maybe a couple hours, then come back on, and it would alternate volumes, but the level on the videos was about where it usually was at, to be honest. Yeah, around like 2 months ago, I got fed up with it, and I took it apart, and I was gonna like just cut, I looked it up, and I was gonna cut the wire that I thought was going to like stop it, but I'm also not an idiot, and I understand that messing with electricity when you don't have an electrical like training is stupid, so instead I found the vibration plate that makes the chime noise, and I cut up like one of those big giant sponges you use to wash your car. I cut off a chunk of it, condensed it down, and wedged it in between the bottom plate and that vibrating plate to muffle the sound with like foam, and that helped a lot until I think it worked for about 2 months, and then the sponge like started to deflate, kind of how your pillows go flat. And then I started to complain again, and then my mom had her boyfriend come down and cut the wire, which honestly just irritated me because I'd been asking her to like hire an electrician for like months, and actually for years. We've lived here for like 6 years. And she was like, it took him 5 minutes, and I was like, wow, that's crazy, because it's in the downstairs hallway as well, like near the front door, and it's in my room, and everywhere else in the house you can hear like a faint electrical hum. But my room is the only place where it's like noticeable, and because it wasn't a everybody's problem, nobody gave a shit, which would make sense to me if like you have to call an electrician and like put it on the house insurance. But finding out that it was a 5-minute fix and I've been dealing with it for 5 years, and all I had to do was raise hell about it for somebody, like it really pissed me off. My partner came here, and he literally like walked through the door and was like, I understand why you have so many mental health issues, because that noise is actual sound torture. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I've been with it so long, I'm used to it. He was like, nobody gets used to that. Would infuriate me too, yeah. I mean, you get used to it at some point, man. The constant neglect. What do you mean you accidentally took too much of your meds? Are you okay? I guess things
you can't be nice about because people think you're not serious. Yeah, story of my life. I should really, like, absorb that lesson fully, because I don't like to lose my temper, but for whatever reason, nobody cares about anything until I've lost my temper. It's like, if I'm not yelling, people don't think that what I have to say is important or that it matters. I'm autistic, and I have a lot of self-control, and I do have the autistic, like, my emotions don't reach my face, or when I'm very stressed out, I will default to, like, shutting down. Like, there's normal. When I'm beginning to get upset, I become, like, a blank slate. Like, I get very neutral face, and that's, like, we're having an issue. And then if you push me past that, then I will, like, then you'll see the expression, but it's like, it's like an explosion. Like, I won't become, like, I won't ever really look, like, slightly irritated. I'll go from happy to calm to, like, I'm actively trying to kill you. Does that make any sense? There is no, like, oh, I look a little bit irritated, or you can see that I'm starting to get mad. If I'm in that zone, I just look, like, completely, like, blank face. So I think that because of that, when I'm telling people, like, I'm really upset by this and I'm really bothered by this, I'm usually doing it with a blank face, and they think that I'm over exaggerating the way I feel about it because they can't see that I'm actually bothered. Do you know what I mean? And then when I start to show emotion, they're like, oh, I care now because I can see you're starting to get upset. But by the time I've started yelling or crying, I'm actually not, like, beginning to have an emotion. I'm in a full-blown meltdown, and you're dealing with me at my most irrational and unable to be, like, logical or, like, talk through things. Does that make any sense? Like, I'm just, like, incoherent at that point. Which is really frustrating, because once I get to that point, I'm obviously, like, not in a good space, and that's, like, a meltdown that I have to recover from. So I'm often trying to bargain with people to help me before it gets that bad, but nobody cares until it gets that bad, and for them, they can get annoyed and be annoyed or cry a little bit and then go about their day. Once I've hit that point, like, my day is shot. I need to take a nap. I have to decompress. That's all my spoon's gone. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I have to do that every time I need any minor, like, need met. How do I recover from my meltdowns? Usually sleep does it, to be honest. There's a lot of things I can do, like watching TV, zoning out, vegging out, but I generally don't ever feel good until I've taken a nap. Like, it is like I actually need to rest. Even if it's, like, be it the next day, or, like, go to sleep till the next day, or just, like, lay down for a couple of hours. Taking a bath works in a pinch, right? Because I'm a sensory person. I really like warm water. That helps. But a nap I usually don't feel like myself until I've had a nap. And, I will say back in the day, I used to have really bad meltdowns. And those I would take maybe a day or two of, like, sleep and rest before I felt normal. In the tone of, like, attending to my mental health and, like, finding what works for me, my meltdowns are smaller, and I find that now when I get to that point, I can often just, like, sleep on the couch for, like, an hour or two, and then I feel mostly, like, better. Do you know what I mean? Like, my entire quality of life has shifted in a very significant way, because I'm just not, like, blowing up the way that I used to. I have a lot of tools of how to deal with things before they get to that point. I've also learned, I wouldn't say that I ever learned to, like, show more of my emotions. I spend a lot more time with people who are also neurodivergent, and my first warning sign, which is usually neutral face and a loss of eye contact, if I'm being physical with somebody, like if I was previously sitting close to them, or, like, leaning into conversation, or, like, leaning into them, once I get upset, my face goes neutral, and I'll sit back and withdraw touch and usually avert my eyes. I now spend a lot of time with people, like my current partner. When I do that, he knows that it's, like, bad, and he'll immediately be like, are you okay? Like, I think on our second date, we had not a disagreement. I had an expectation of, like, the way the date was gonna go, and he, like, was like, I don't want to do that. And because I was really excited for what we were going to do, I had, like, a really averse reaction to the plans being changed. I don't deal with, like, sudden change of plans or disappointment very well, especially when it's, like, an event that I was looking forward to. And I, like, tried to be like, yeah, it's fine, it's okay, but I did, like, involuntarily, like, withdraw my hands a little bit. I sat back and I averted my eyes, and he immediately went down and was like, are you good? And I looked away, and he was like,
hey, you need to talk to me. Like, one of the reasons why we're dating now is because I really like that he immediately picked up on that. Because I've had full-blown silent meltdowns around people before and had them never notice that anything was wrong, and they never would know. Like, I'm completely disassociated, disconnected from reality, and they can't even, they just think that I'm being quiet for like 5 minutes. He's my partner because he picked up on that stuff. You know what I mean? And I just don't really spend a lot of time with people who aren't like that now. So it doesn't ever get that bad. The ADHD is kicked into high gear on this live stream. Yeah, I came here to do work. And we can't even get any work done because I want to talk to my friends, man. What I expected versus what it turned out to be and feeling okay with that gap. Yeah, I usually, if somebody, like, if I'm looking for something, I usually need a day or two to process, like, plans being changed, to be honest. I'm really, like, not, I feel, like, really bad about it. And I will, like, lash out, I've found, or guilt people about it. I'm not, like, proud of it. I don't really know what to do about that, to be honest. It really, like, it really upsets me. And it's not, like, I can fully understand why somebody canceled on me. I can fully, like, be like, that's a valid reason, or, like, you know, they'll rain check. I just don't like that it's like, okay, so, you know, when you're autistic or mentally ill and you, like, have something to do, and so you plan your entire day around it, right? I have to go to this person's house, or I'm going to go take this trip next week. So because I have to take this trip next week, I'm going to do laundry here. I'm going to work these days. I'm going to make sure I get extra sleep. Like, I will plan around stuff, right? Plan my outfits. I think what it is, it's disappointment, and then just being autistic and not having great emotional regulation in the first place. So dealing with disappointment and grief. And then on top of that, I plan my entire week around things that I need to do, that I look forward to. Like, the way that it is I'm like, I'm looking forward to this and I want this to go well. So all the days leading up to that thing are me organizing my life in a way that, like, takes care of everything so that I don't have anything to worry about on that day. You know what I mean? If I have a date on Wednesday, I'm shaving my legs the night before. I've planned to, like, oh, okay, so I have a date Friday, I'm off Wednesday, let me do my hair on Wednesday so I have fresh hair on Friday, let me shave my arms the night before, let me, like, you know, like, I'm planning everything. I'm grocery shopping, like, like, I want it to go smoothly. So then I have to deal with the crash and burn of, like, it wasn't just like we had plans and I was going to do them the night before. I've spent the entire week prepping for this thing because I was excited about it, even if it's something minor, like just a date or just, like, hanging out. So now I'm like, you just made me waste my time. If had I known you were going to cancel me, I would have spent my entire week completely differently. There's so many things that I said no to, or other things that I could have spent doing. Like, I spent this weekend doing my hair. I redid my hair when you could have told me, and then I would have just done this. I would have done work instead, or I would have picked up that extra shift at work. Do you know what I mean? It's that. And then, because I optimized, like you said, my whole week around this plan, then I'm immediately confronted with, I don't know what to do now. Because now my brain is like, well, now you're not doing that thing. So what are you supposed to be doing now? And then I don't know. And then that makes me freak out. Like, I'm like, now I have to figure out a couple minutes ago, I knew what I was going to be doing for the next 2 days because I know we had that plan and I already organized my whole day. So now you're like, we're just not going to do this thing, but you don't understand that you've invalidated my whole last week and you have completely left me with nothing to do for the next few days. And because I need a schedule, now I, at this moment, have had my schedule destroyed. I have to come up with a new one and I can't do anything until I come up with a new one. And I don't, like, it feels like I was on a boat on an ocean going to a destination, and then when somebody cancels plans with me, they literally put me on, like, a plank of wood in the ocean, like in the Titanic, where he's like, they're holding on, and they're like, figure out how to get home, and I'm like, I don't know where I'm going now. I don't have my luggage. I don't have a boat, and, like, I'm in my head, I think, having a very valid emotional reaction to being stranded at sea, but they're like, I just canceled plans. Why are you freaking the fuck out? Do you know what I mean? Like, and then I'm objectively a bad person for lashing out, for trying to guilt them into keeping the plans, for, like, you always do this, or, like, any emotional reaction I have to them, and I would say objectively is invalid and therefore abusive. But as the person experiencing it, I still don't know what else to do, because, again, it feels like I just got capsized off of my ship and abandoned in the middle of the ocean, and then God himself is being like, you're not allowed to have an emotion about this. You can't cry because that's manipulative. You can't, like, be stressed out. You can't be anything other than, like, accepting the situation. Does that make any sense? I don't know how to go around that. Usually that's one of those things where I just tell people I'm autistic. I'm going to do that. Try not to take it personally. I don't know how to fix it. And it gets worse when I'm dealing with somebody that regularly cancels plans on me or is unreliable, because in a way of trying to like accommodate for that, I will get extra like detail-y with prep work. You know what I mean? Of like, I'll ask them a million times. I'll ask them every day, hey, you know, we have plans next week. Are we still on, like, you know, on day 7 days out? Are we still on Monday? We still on first Saturday? Okay, on Tuesday, we're still on, right? Wednesday, we're still on. So when they cancel for me on Thursday night, then I'll get extra mad because I'm like, I just asked you every single day leading up if we were still on, and you said yes, so I thought we were good because I worked so hard to make sure you weren't going to keep those plans. And even if they're like, okay, so, well, I got called into work, there's nothing I can do about it. I was like, I get that, and I get you can't do anything about it, but I am upset. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I just asked you every day. It's like, the way that my brain tries to cope with it is by controlling every possible variable so I can't get canceled on, so then it just makes it worse when I am, if that makes any sense. It's not like, it's not fair. That's just straight up, I'm gonna let you know, like, I do feel strongly that's just one of those things that, like, I'm autistic. It's a disability. You know what I mean? I, like, don't know what to tell people beyond that. I'm gonna do a reading. I'm losing my voice. I have to do a cameo in a little bit. Oh, do I have to, actually? My throat hurts. I have to go in a second. Are you guys gonna be mad if I don't read any tarot cards? And I promise that I will next time. Is that okay with everybody? Because I'm looking at it. I have like 44 minutes, so I have to do a reading. I'm losing my voice. If I do a reading now on stream, it's going to give me like 5 minutes to recover between the two, and I'm going to be shot. Probably no sim stream either, to be honest. I forgot how much doing this makes my throat hurt. I'm really genuinely losing my voice. Okay, I'm off Wednesdays and Saturdays now. I cannot promise that I'll be streaming both of those days. I could say that most likely look out for those to be the stream days. I think sometimes I need a decompress day, and sometimes I'll be hanging out with my partner. I will try and do more weekdays, like days when I'm working. I would like to incorporate like getting off of work and streaming, so we might do random stuff. I'm back into it. We can stream again. That's what I'm saying. The next stream I do will probably be a sim stream. I'm not even gonna lie. Because I miss it really, really badly, and we'll figure that out. I might actually do that Saturday. I don't think I have plans on Saturday. I think I'm good. Loosely, we'll say let's do a sim stream on Saturday. I reserve the right to change my mind. And if you're on the sim stream, I do them on YouTube, so it's a different app. Different thing. I'm not gonna advertise my readings because I didn't do one. I don't have a Cameo sale going on right now. I don't feel like advertising. No, Labyrinth, you did come in late. I'm literally leaving. Oh no, I'll be back soon. We'll put a soft date for Saturday to play Sims, and then presuming that I don't have plans, I might do tarot on Wednesday. We'll figure it out. Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I have been like struggling to get TikToks done lately. I'm working on it. Be sleepy. As always, if you came in the middle of this, it's going up on YouTube. That's the other use for the YouTube channel. I now cross post all of my TikToks onto YouTube. Thank Morgan for doing that for me, because they're better at it than I am. So if you're like, I never see your TikToks anymore, subscribe to YouTube. Everything that gets posted, they get transferred right over. A little bit later, but it does. Every live stream that I do is on YouTube. This one will go up either immediately or like tomorrow, depending on when I get access to the file. So if you missed it, you know. I mean, I'm talking to the people that just came in here. I know Labyrinth. I know you know that. You're always here. You know where to find it. We didn't do any tarot. It was mostly just yapping. I'll just tell you that. We didn't do any tarot. I just talked. But I basically explained why I've been gone for the last few months. I think it's an interesting story. I would hope so. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys. Love you guys. I'm glad you're here. I was actually genuinely worried that it was just going to be me and Morgan in here and nobody else was going to show up. And Strawberry. Me, Morgan, and Strawberry just twiddling our thumbs at each other because I feel bad because I took too long. Hopefully it never happens again. Thanks for being patient with me, guys.